Chapter 60-77. The whole pig was in bad shape. De Hua almost died from anger. The weather was a little cold. It was obvious that they had to use 10,000-year-old ice to cool down the temperature every day, okay? And the cloak. They weren't afraid of getting a prickly rash. Of course, that wasn't the main point. The main point was its fur, okay? De Hua wanted to store the skeleton and fur into its storage space, but then it realized that it was only a spiritual beast now, so how could it have any storage space? If it wanted to take the skeleton and fur away, there was only one choice, and that was to put them in the storage ring of this black-hearted and evil girl. De Hua suddenly felt that its whole body, no, the whole pig, was in bad shape. What was the difference between this and a meat bun beating a dog? Previously, it had been eagerly escorting them, leading the way in front, and even eagerly wanting to fuse with its body. It was all a pit. Hei Xingjiu ignored De Hua, who had no hope of becoming a beast, and stored a large pile of bones and fur into her storage ring. She did not even let go of the 4 10,000-year-old black iron chains. The corner of President Gus' eyes twitched violently. Could this troublemaker be trying to use public affairs for personal gain? What happened to letting the demonic beasts be tainted by Tao Tai's vicious aura? Why did all of them enter her storage ring? Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu were also a little confused. Just as they were about to speak, Yun Shujiu said obediently, "Master, if we throw these bones out rashly, those beasts will definitely break their heads and bleed for these bones. This won't do. Therefore, I'm prepared to grind these bones and scatter the ashes. Some of them will be scattered on the island, and some of them will be made into insoluble pellets and thrown into the misty lake." De Hua rolled on the ground in anger. It was not going to live anymore. This stinky girl was too mean. This big liar, this big pig trotter, had been lying to it all this time. Chu Feng and the other two looked at De Hua rolling on the ground with their mouths agape. Was this thing really a Tao Tai? Could it be mutated? Hei Xingjiu glanced at De Hua, who was rolling on the ground, and said with her spiritual sense, "Don't worry. One of your toes is enough. If you continue to make trouble, I'll use your skull to make it." De Hua immediately stopped rolling when he heard that. "Is what you said true? You didn't lie to me this time? Don't worry. When have I ever lied to you? Do you still not trust my words?" Yun Shujiu said with certainty. "De Hua, don't you feel guilty when you say that? When have you never lied to me?" However, it had no other see. After a few days, Yun Shujiu secretly scattered the remains of Tao Tai's bones on the 6 Directions waterside pavilion and threw a lot of small pellets into the misty lake. The creature deliberately fed a few more small pellets to the sawtooth lake dolphin so that it could pay attention to the movements in the misty lake. De Hua watched as its bones became food for other demon beasts. The sadness in its heart was about to turn into a river. Was there any other beast in the world that was more miserable than it? It thought for a while and finally made up its mind. "You let me out. I want to eat my bones and fur. Maybe it can make me materialize right away." Yun Shujiu was really shocked. "Are you serious?" "Of course. Since I can increase my cultivation base by eating spirit stones, I can definitely eat my own bones and fur," De Hua said with certainty. It finally understood. If it hadn't acted earlier, these bones would definitely have been lost, not to mention the fur. That damned ball of wool had long been eyeing it like a tiger eyeing its prey. It said that it wanted to turn it into some 6-piece set. It was simply angered to death. Chapter 60-78. Flying Pig. Yun Shujiu saw that De Hua was so confident, so she thought for a while and agreed. De Hua was her spiritual beast, so she was naturally happy that De Hua could become stronger. Therefore, she only left a few small bones and fed the rest of the bones and fur to De Hua. De Hua was crying in his heart as he ate, thinking that it was a majestic beast that had actually reached the point of eating its own body. If this was to be spread out, it would be a laughing stock. De Hua ate for more than 2 hours before she swallowed all the bones and fur. De Hua burped a few times and began to wait for the materialization happily. As long as it fully materialized, it would be able to turn back into its original majestic appearance and no longer have to be a pig. However, after an hour, 2 hours, and 4 hours, the sun had set, but it did not change at all. Only its pitiful claw remained in the state of materialization. Hei Shinjo picked up its materialized claw and scolded, "Didn't you say that you can materialize after eating it? Where is it? Spit it out." Dehua was already very sad, but after being scolded by Hei Shinjo, it immediately howled in despair. "Who did I offend? Back then, I was also a beautiful beast that everyone loved. It was because of you that I was in such a miserable state. Why are you still scolding me? Sob, sob, I don't want to live anymore." Yunchujo, why did she feel that this style was somewhat familiar? Although Hei Shinjo was pained by the bones and fur that Dehua had eaten, she had no choice but to throw it to the ground after eating it. At this moment, Hei Shinjo was dumbfounded when she saw a pair of fleshy wings grow out of Dehua's back at a speed visible to the naked eye. Moreover, they were the ones that had already materialized. Yunchujo stretched out her finger and poked them. Not to mention, the texture was not bad. Dehua subconsciously flapped the pair of small wings and flew up. I told you that eating them would definitely be useful. If I grow a pair of wings today, they might materialize tomorrow. Very soon, I will be able to dominate the 3,000 continents again. Ha ha ha. Alright, even if you grow a pair of wings, you will still be a flying pig. What's the point of showing off? Hurry up and land on the ground. If anyone finds out, they'll cut off your wings and roast them for food, Hei Shinjo said coldly. Dehua was fuming, but she didn't dare to disobey. She persuaded herself to bear with it until it fully materialized. Then, she would deal with this stupid girl. In the following period of time, Yunchujo and Chu Feng often went to monitor by Yuchen's voice transmission talisman, but they found that he hadn't contacted Lan Luochen since the last time. However, they received some feedback from the array. Recently, Bai Yuechen had been intentionally or unintentionally testing the location of the array's core. According to Yunchujo, Director's son provided Bai Yuechen with some false information. At the same time, Chu Feng finally got in touch with Qi Chen. Qi Chen did not have their good luck. He had just woken up and was slowly nourished by various rare herbs. It was estimated that he would not be able to move freely for a year or so. Chu Feng gave him a reminder. After all, Lan Luochen was still a student of the Divine Enlightenment Academy. If he wanted to do something, it would be very convenient. Hei Shinjo sent a message to Wu Zhao of the 10,000 Buddha's Sacred Hall, reminding him to pay more attention. As for the Alliance of 10,000 Cities and the Iron Blood Massacre Alliance, since they did not have reliable candidates, they did not remind them to avoid alerting the enemy. When the storm was coming, everything was quietly dormant. Chapter 6079 was still young. Yunchujo thought about it and felt that Lan Luochen was most likely in cahoots with the Divine Devil Hall again. Otherwise, based on his cultivation, there was no reason for him to get the Bai family so quickly. Moreover, if he did not have a backer, he would not have any designs on the 10 Directions Academy or the entire Divine Enlightenment continent. Yunchujo could not help but worry about Di Baiming's safety. It had been a long time since she had heard from him. Since the voice transmission talisman could not be sent out, she could only wait passively for him to contact her. Coincidentally, just as she was worried, Di Baiming sent her a message. Di Baiming was probably afraid that the voice transmission talisman would be monitored, so he only said 4 words, "Is everything alright?" Yunchujo had an exquisite heart and immediately understood his worries. She directly said, "I have already told Master about your matter. Master and the others are magnanimous and did not blame us." A moment later, the voice transmission talisman sounded again. "Alright, then you can inform the 2 Grand Elders. I'll look for an opportunity to sneak into the upper house. I have something important to tell them." After Yunchujo agreed, she eagerly came to meet the 2 Grand Elders. Previously, she had already told them that the Beiyu was Di Baiming. Although the 2 old men were very unhappy, they could not resist Hei Xinjia's coaxing. In the end, they just let it go. After the two heard Yunchuji's words, they looked at each other. It seemed that the little brat's cultivation was not low. He could actually sneak in on his own. The two of them also wanted to see what kind of person their little disciple had chosen, so they immediately nodded in agreement. The next night, Di Baiming quietly entered the upper house and arrived at the prehistoric branch. Di Baiming had already returned to his original appearance. He was cold and noble. Even the displeased Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu could not help but praise him in their hearts. Putting everything else aside, just his bearing and appearance was extraordinary. Moreover, he was able to sneak into the upper house without alerting the guards. It was evident that his cultivation was also extraordinary. President Gus' expression was also very complicated. He had originally thought that Bimu was extraordinary. Now that he looked at it, he realized that he had only displayed 1 or 2 out of 10. He was indeed a dragon among men. President Gu glanced at the starry-eyed He Xinjiu again, and suddenly felt as if a good cabbage had been eaten by a pig. He could not help but curse in his heart. This troublemaker might have used some bad water to trick this person into his hands. What a waste of such a char. Di Baiming bowed to Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu. After all, Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu were Yunchuji's masters, so they had to have the proper etiquette. He nodded to President Gu as a greeting. President Gu did not argue. After all, he had to bow to Yunchuji because of his low seniority. Chu Feng snorted, "You two are good at playing us two old men in your hands." He Xinjiu quickly said with a smile, "Master, as the saying goes, even the most cunning fox can't escape from a good hunter. Didn't we get exposed in the end? It means that we are not good enough in front of you two. We are still young." Chu Feng snorted coldly, "You are the only one who knows how to talk." However, his face softened. "Tell me. What is it that you want to talk about? Why did you have to sneak in the middle of the night?" Di Baiming said with a solemn face, "The Bai family, the Iron Blood Alliance, and the Alliance of 10,000 Cities have joined the Divine Devil Hall. They are going to attack the 10 Directions Academy, the Divine Enlightenment Academy, and the Temple of 10,000 Buddhas." Chapter 6080, This kid was too outstanding. Chu Feng was shocked. Fortunately, he didn't rashly send a message to the Iron Blood Alliance and the Alliance of 10,000 Cities. Otherwise, he would have really alarmed them. However, he said indifferently, "Although what you said is somewhat valuable, we have long discovered the clues in this matter." "Is that what you're talking about?" Di Baiming was a little surprised, but he didn't ask in detail. He continued, "Other than that, I don't know what kind of cultivation technique Lan Luochen has cultivated to be able to absorb the cultivation of others for his own use. The cultivation techniques of the two of you and Senior Qi Chen should have been absorbed by him. His current cultivation is already unfathomable." Chu Feng and the rest were immediately shocked. It was obvious that they had difficulty digesting what Di Baiming had said. Yunchuji's eyes were wide open. No wonder Lan Luochen was able to hold the Bai family in his hands so easily. It turned out that he had mastered such an evil martial art. Why did it sound like the star-sucking technique? "Prince Charming, that's not right. My master and the rest were attacked by a giant hand. That giant hand could not have belonged to Lan Luochen. How do you explain that?" President Gu staggered when he heard the word Prince Charming. This troublemaker was really thick-skinned. No wonder he was able to bring a handsome man home. The corners of Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu's eyes twitched. However, they did not have the time to care about this now. They were all waiting for Di Baiming's answer. That giant hand most likely belongs to the Divine Devil Hall Master. Lan Luochen must have made some kind of deal with him to get the Divine Devil Hall Master to make a move. As for how the power absorbed by the giant hand was transferred to Lan Luchen's body, I have no idea. But one thing is certain, that giant hand must have some kind of restriction. Otherwise, Lan Luochen would not be able to make a move. Moreover, if my guess is right, that giant hand should not be able to make a move again in a short period of time. We don't have to worry about him for the time being. Yun Shujo frowned. Even if we don't have to worry about the palace master of the Divine Devil Hall, that Lon Dregs is not easy to deal with. He has absorbed the cultivation of my master and the other two. Maybe he has also absorbed the cultivation of others. Even you can't defeat him. Di Baiming said calmly. According to his temperament, he will definitely lead his men to attack the 10 Directions Academy in a head-on battle. At that time, I will lure him away. You guys will first gather your forces to destroy his subordinates and then go to support me. Even if his cultivation is unfathomable, when the time comes, he will be left alone and will have no choice but to surrender. Yun Shujo glared at a certain honored warrior. I don't agree. His cultivation is much higher than yours now. If you lure him away, wouldn't you be walking into a trap? Other than that, what better way do you have? He hates me to the bone. Only I can lure him away. If not, no matter how strong the defensive formation of the Academy of 10 Directions is, it might not be able to withstand the long-lasting attack of his subordinates. This is the most reasonable way. Besides, he might not really be able to do anything to me. After all, the cultivation of others belongs to others. Even if he turns it into his own use, there will be many restrictions. Although Di Baiming's tone was indifferent, his words carried the bearing of a superior. It was an attitude of looking down on the world. So what if the opponent was strong? What was there to be afraid of when the future was dangerous? Chu Feng could not help but nod repeatedly. Good kid, you have the appearance of my youth. As long as you are safe and sound this time, I will make the decision to marry my precious disciple to you. Chu Feng's true thought was that this kid was too outstanding. It was better to let his precious disciple marry him as soon as possible so that he would not benefit others. Chapter 60-81, Shui Wuji's worries. Hei Xinzhou pursed her lips and did not say a word. Although she was not an evil person, she did not have such a selfless feeling. There was no reason for the pretty boy to put himself in danger for the sake of the lives of others. Blue Dregs hated the pretty boy to death and would definitely kill him. What if he was in danger? Chu Feng and the other two could also see that Hei Xinzhou was a little unhappy. They asked Di Baiming a few more questions and tactfully left. As for Ding Wenru, she had asked Yun Shujo to find an excuse to stay somewhere else in the evening. After Chu Feng and the other two left, Hei Xinzhou snorted and ignored Di Baiming. She poured herself a cup of tea and sipped it. A certain someone sat at the table awkwardly, not knowing what to say. After a while, Di Baiming said, Little Zhou, I know you are worried about me, but there is no other way. Furthermore, I am not doing this for the sake of the bigger picture. I am also selfish. Lan Luchen's intentions towards you are clear as day. If you do not get rid of him, he will attack you sooner or later. Since that is the case, why don't you cut the Gordian knot and get rid of this root of trouble? Yun Shujo snorted coldly again but did not say anything. Di Baiming sighed. Other than that, the matter of the Divine Devil Hall should be settled. Otherwise, we will never be able to meet again. Now, the master of the Divine Devil Hall had clearly treated Lan Luochen as a knife in his hand. If we don't get rid of Lan Luochen, we will not be able to break through the Divine Devil Hall. Therefore, even if we take the risk, I can only give it a try. Yun Shujo actually knew this in her heart, but she still didn't want Di Baiming to take the risk. She pouted and asked, Then do you still have that bone in your hand? If he had that bone, Di Baiming could use a secret technique. Although he would be very weak after using the secret technique, he could still save his life at the critical moment. Di Baiming shook his head. I thought I would find the bone in the ruins of miracles last time, but I didn't expect to find the Devil Emperor's mask. But don't worry, Shui Wuji's current strength is not bad. Together with Enfeng, the three of us can at least delay Lan Luochen for a while. It's not too late to help us after you finish the battle. Yun Shujo saw that Di Baiming had already said so, so she didn't say anything else. Oh right, did Wu Jis head see Chi recently? Where is Chi? Di Baiming curled his lips. He really wanted to see him, but unfortunately, he didn't get what he wanted. He would sigh every few days. However, he broke some seals because he was in a bad mood. If he didn't suddenly show his power, we wouldn't have been able to break out of the encirclement. He broke another part of the seals? Did he remember anything? Yun Shujiu asked curiously. Di Baiming raised his eyebrows. Ever since he remembered a part of his memories, his mood became even worse. Because he vaguely remembered that there was a marriage contract in the demon race. He was afraid that Yun Qi would divorce him after she found out. Puff! Yun Shujiu immediately spat out the tea in her mouth. What the hell? There was a marriage contract in the demon race? Really? What is his identity in the demon race? Who is he engaged to? He only has a vague impression. He can't tell the details, and it might not be true. Besides, the demon race and the human race don't interfere with each other. As long as he doesn't return to the demon continent, it's nothing. He's just worried that Yun Qi will deal with him, Di Baiming said. Chapter 6082 was all about pig trotters. He Xinjiu clicked her tongue and said, I have to say that Qi really knows how to control a man. Such an unruly man like Wu Ji was actually managed so obediently. Most importantly, Qi couldn't be bothered with him at all. Although Di Baiming had never met Yun Qi before, he felt that she was probably not an ordinary person since she was his daughter-in-law's best friend. It was normal for her to attract Shui Wuji. He Xinjiu blinked and said gloomily, You men are indeed hogs. Didn't Qiying say that you had a lover in your previous life? Let me tell you something. You can solve the problems that you have caused yourself. If someone really comes looking for you, don't come and cause trouble in front of me. Di Baiming did not expect that the fire would burn his body in the end. He immediately said with a solemn face, I've told you before. Even if I haven't awakened all my memories, I'm sure that I only like you in my previous life and now. There is no one else. Although He Xinjiu was very happy in her heart, she snorted coldly and said, HMPH. That's nice. I'll see you later. After chatting for a while, He Xinjiu returned the little perverted dragon to Di Baiming, return it to its original owner. Maybe it can be of use when you fight with the blue dregs. Alas, it's a pity that I'm still too weak to help you. If only I had a way to stimulate my potential. When the time comes, we can definitely defeat the blue dregs together. He Xinjiu counted with her fingers. It had been a long time since she had stimulated her killing intent. It seemed that she had never displayed such an awesome state since she arrived at the Divine Enlightenment continent. I'd rather you didn't have the chance to unleash your potential, Di Baiming said indifferently. The reason was simple. Every time Yun Shujiu unleashed her potential, it was because she was extremely sad or angry. His heart ached for her. He Xinjiu was so smart. Although Di Baiming didn't say it, she could guess what he was thinking, and she couldn't help but feel sweet in her heart. This guy looked at a handsome face under the candlelight, and his lustful heart started to stir. He started to feel extremely resentful towards Goei Batsao. Goei Batsao, which had been scolded 8 times, was so angry that its leaves started to twitch. It had done so many good things for her. Had she forgotten all about it? It only knew how to think about those trivial things all day long. How shameless. The lecherous heart was not a blockhead. Seeing He Xinjiu's restless little eyes, its eyes started to heat up. Just as the two of them were filled with pink bubbles, He Xinjiu suddenly felt very, very hungry. The desire for food far exceeded the lecherous heart. He Xinjiu was so angry that she immediately let Dehua out. Eat, eat, eat. Why don't you die from eating? Dehua felt a certain cold gaze and quickly knelt on the ground. It waved its small, meaty wings and explained, I didn't want this either. But I suddenly felt very hungry. By the way, I haven't eaten anything since I ate myself. Di Baiming, what did she mean by since it ate itself? Yun Shujiu kicked Dehua's body. Get out and eat. Dehua dared not speak out of anger. It crawled outside while shivering, waiting for He Xinjiu to feed it. Yun Shujiu threw a few corpses of demon beasts to it and then told Di Biming what had happened. HMPH. This dumbass was afraid that I would feed its bones and fur to other demon beasts, so it ate them all. In the end, it grew a pair of useless wings. Chapter 6083 was about to begin. De Hua, who was kicked out, cursed in his heart as he ate, "You're useless. Your entire family is useless. I'll kill you after I materialize." However, when he thought of the tragic experience in his previous life, he suddenly lost his confidence. Even if he regained his strength, he probably wouldn't be able to defeat this insidious and despicable girl. The more De Hua thought about it, the more miserable it became. It simply turned its grief and indignation into appetite and gobbled up the corpses of the demon beasts. Seeing that De Hua's appetite was even greater than before, Yun Shujiu hugged a certain deity's waist and cried, "Prince Charming, why do you think I'm so miserable? I raised one or two trash, especially this De Hua. She's eating me until I'm broke." A certain deity was also unable to explain He Xinjiu's silly cuteness. Each of them had a great background, yet they were all trash now. De Hua felt relieved after hearing that. Damn it. I'll eat you to death. Therefore, this guy ate himself until he was so full that he couldn't even close his small wings. Then, he burped and said weakly, "I, burp, eat, burp, am full." Yun Shujiu got angry when she saw De Hua's rotund appearance. She kicked him away and scolded him for a few more words before she calmed down. Yuan Gun, who was standing in front of De Hua, looked at Yun Shujiu. After being disturbed by De Hua, this guy's lust was gone. He yawned and climbed onto the bed before falling asleep. After using it, he was thrown aside. In the next few days, Di Biming stayed in the wilderness branch and accompanied Yun Shujiu when he was not cultivating. If it were not for the hidden worries of the Divine Devil Hall and Lan Luochen, He Xinjiu would have thought that such a small life was not bad. Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu felt sorry for their little disciple. Now was a time of turmoil and they could not collect lightning strike stones, so they asked President Gu to take out more than half of the lightning strike stones stored in the academy for Yun Shujiu to cultivate. Unfortunately, this guy's demand for the power of lightning was too great. After absorbing all of it, he only climbed from the 4th level to the 6th level of the divine summoning. On this day, Chu Feng once again heard Bai Yuchen's voice transmission talisman. Lan Luochen had instructed him in the voice transmission talisman that he would personally lead people to attack the 10 Directions Academy after half a month. After the battle had begun, he had asked Bai Yuchen to think of a way to destroy the core of the protective array. He had also told him that Jian Zhuyu, Jiang Shuangli, and the others were also his people. If necessary, he would ask them for help. President Gu and the others couldn't help. If it weren't for Yan Qingsheng, no, Yun Shujiu being alert, the 10 Directions Academy might really be doomed this time. When no one was around, Chu Feng said to Zhuang Mu, "On the 15th of the month, 10,000 beasts roar, Tao Tai comes out, disaster is coming, and all things are destroyed. The ethereal soul, the reclusive Tao, 2 reincarnations, disaster is hard to break. Say, if it weren't for our precious disciple, let alone the 10 Directions Academy, the entire Divine Enlightenment continent might have fallen into the hands of the Divine Demon Hall. Could our precious disciple be that ethereal soul?" Zhuang Mu said with a serious expression, "Whether she is or not, let's forget these words in the future." Chu Feng was stunned at first, then he nodded. Yes, if it was spread out, it might not be a good thing for his disciple. After all, the hearts of people could not withstand the test. Many people believed in non-humans, and their hearts were bound to be different. When that time came, it would cause unnecessary trouble for his precious disciple. Half a month passed in the blink of an eye. On this day, the army led by Lan Luochen was like a hot knife through butter. They did not encounter any obstacles and they charged all the way to the periphery of the 10 Directions Academy. Moreover, the main force was concentrated in the water area of the 6 Directions Waterside Pavilion. Although President Gu was mentally prepared, he still acted very seriously. Lan Luochen, what do you mean by this? Chapter 6084 promised you 1,000 miles of red makeup. Lan Luochen said coldly to President Gu, who had hurried over from the defensive array. What do you mean? The world will unite after a long period of separation. The days when the world is divided should be over. From now on, the Divine Enlightenment continent will be under the control of the Divine Demon Hall. President Gu's face was livid with anger. Nonsense. Lan Luochen, I advise you to rein in your horses before you make a big mistake. Moreover, the defensive formation of the 10-Directional Academy is not a decoration. It is a fool's dream if you want to break through it. Lan Luochen raised his head and laughed. His gloomy face was tinged with madness. Big mistake? What is right and what is wrong? It is just that the winner is the king and the loser is the bandit. Your defensive formation is not worth mentioning in my eyes. As Lan Luochen spoke, he raised his hand and a huge spiritual Qi-Qilan pounced towards the protective array of the 10 Directions Academy. Under its bite, the protective array actually started to tremble slightly. Although it was not enough to break, it was enough to make President Gu pale with fright. Previously, when Di Baiming said that Lan Luchen's cultivation was already unfathomable, he did not quite believe it. But now, it seemed that it was actually true. Fortunately, they were already prepared. Otherwise, the 10 Directions Academy would have definitely been breached. Lan Luochen saw the shock on President Gu's face and coldly snorted, if you don't want the 10 Directions Academy to be reduced to nothingness, call Yan Qingqing over. I have something to say to her. President Gu hesitated for a moment and nodded, okay, I will ask her to come over now. In fact, He Xinjiu had been on the Six Harmonies waterside pavilion the whole time, and she was, bleeding herself. She had wanted to bleed Di Baiming for a rainy day, but Di Baiming had been watching her all day, so she didn't have the chance to do it. Taking advantage of the chaos today, this guy gritted his teeth and started bleeding. By the time Di Baiming came back after checking the situation outside, He Xinjiu had already bled more than 10 small porcelain bottles. He Xinjiu stuffed all the small porcelain bottles into Di Baiming's hands. You must come back alive, or I'll turn your head into a green prairie. Di Baiming's eyes were a little sour. He hugged He Xinjiu tightly in his arms. Wait for me. I'll definitely come back. I'll grant you 1,000 miles of red makeup and protect you for the rest of your life. He Xinjiu pursed her lips. Okay. At this moment, the news of President Gu arrived. The two of them had no choice but to separate and carry out their own tasks. 15 minutes later, He Xinjiu took a boat to the waters of the Six Harmonies waterside pavilion to meet with President Gu. When Lan Luochen saw Yun Shujiu, the madness in his eyes was immediately replaced with gentleness. Little Jiu, as long as you agree to leave with me, I will spare the lives of the people from the 10 Directions Academy. Yun Shujiu looked at Lan Luochen with a cold gaze. Right now, she only had hatred and contempt for him. Lan Luochen, if you still have half a shred of humanity, stop immediately. We can still be strangers. Otherwise, today, it will be either you die or I live. President Gu, who was at the side, cursed in his heart. Wasn't his death the same as yours? In any case, it was your life. The light in Lan Luchen's eyes dimmed. Stranger. Little Jiu, I would rather give up a stable life for you. I would rather be pointed at by thousands of people for you. Do you think I'm a stranger? Yun Shujiu smiled coldly and her tone was full of sarcasm. For me? You're only doing this for your own obsession. If you really want my best, you shouldn't keep pestering me. If you're really as affectionate as you say you are, you should learn to let go. Lan Luochen, this is your last chance. Withdraw your troops. From now on, we'll never see each other again. Just pretend we never met. Chapter 6085 was in the midst of an intense battle. Retreat? Never speak to each other again? Little Jiu, you are mine, and you can only be mine. Even if you are unable to accept me now, when I rule the 3,000 continents, you will understand my true feelings towards you. President Gu, immediately capture her and hand her over to me, and I will spare your lives. How about it? Lan Luchen's malicious gaze looked at President Gu. At this moment, President Gu was cursing in his heart. He didn't expect this troublemaker to be able to attract bees and butterflies. This Lan Luochen was going crazy because of her. Hearing Lan Luchen's words, he said coldly, Senior Uncle Yen is a member of the 10 Directional Academy. How can he hand her over to you? If you want to fight, then fight. Lan Luochen said contemptuously, stubborn. With a wave of his hand, the soldiers behind him began to attack the defensive formation of the 10 Directional Academy. The defensive formation began to tremble slightly under the countless attacks of spiritual power and the biting of spiritual beasts. Especially after Lan Luchen's spiritual Qilin joined in, the trembling became even more intense. President Gu looked at Yun Chuzhou worriedly. Uncle Master Yen, where are the reinforcements you mentioned earlier? Yun Chuzhou curled the corner of her mouth and released De Hua. De Hua flapped its fleshy wings and flew around President Gu in a circle. It even specially used its solidified little claw to pat President Gu's shoulder. President Gu, when did this thing grow another pair of wings? A few days ago, Yun Chuzhou had brought De Hua, the mascot, to establish a temporary contract with all the demonic beasts that were contaminated by its ferocious aura. However, for the sake of safety, she still released De Hua to deter those demonic beasts. With Yun Chuzhou's order, countless aquatic demonic beasts gathered under the nearby water surface and attacked those soldiers of the Divine Devil Hall. Those people of the Divine Devil Hall were caught unprepared. The main reason was that they never dreamed that these aquatic demonic beasts would suddenly attack them in a frenzy. Lan Luochen immediately frowned and immediately contacted Bai Yuechen. However, he found that the sound transmission talisman could not be successfully sent. His heart immediately sank. Could it be that the 10 Directions Academy had long realized that something was wrong? However, he did not take it to heart. Even if the Academy of 10 Directions had long been prepared, with his current cultivation, it was only a matter of time. He temporarily gave up on the offensive-defensive array and let the spiritual Qilin attack the aquatic demonic beasts instead. He himself had a water spiritual root, and the Qilin was also an aquatic spiritual beast. In the blink of an eye, the surface of the lake was dyed red by the blood of the demonic beasts. President Gu couldn't help but reveal a worried expression. Lan Luchen's strength was too terrifying. If this continued, those aquatic demonic beasts would definitely be completely wiped out. At this moment, a clear and cold voice sounded from the battlefield. It wasn't loud, but it entered everyone's ears. Lan Luochen, do you dare to fight with me? When Lan Luochen heard this voice, the gloominess on his face became even more intense. He looked up and saw a white-clothed man standing on a small boat not far away with his hands behind his back. The man's expression was cold, and no emotions could be seen in his eyes. However, in Lan Luchen's eyes, there was a strong sense of mockery and provocation. Di Baiming. Lan Luochen said these 3 words through gritted teeth. He originally thought that he had been trapped by the Divine Devil Hall, but he did not expect that he had actually escaped. Originally, he did not want to take action personally to prevent Little Nine from resenting him. However, he could not care less now. Only by killing Di Baiming could he make Little Nine give up completely. He immediately flew up and directly threw a palm towards Di Baiming. Chapter 6086. He had never been afraid of anyone. Di Baiming sneered. Just as Lan Luchen's palm wind was about to reach him, his entire body was like an arrow that had left the bow as he flew into the distance. Lan Luochen naturally wouldn't give up just like that. As he chased, he released his spirit energy Qilin. Di Baiming released his own spirit energy Ice Dragon. Although he didn't have a water spirit root, ice was formed from water. The Ice Dragon's combat strength on the surface of the lake wasn't weak either. Moreover, He also released the little yellow dragon to assist at the side. The little yellow dragon felt miserable in its heart. The little girl's spirit beast was well-fed, and when there was danger, there was still the little girl blocking in front of it. When it was here, it was fine. If it had nothing to do, it would be thrown into a pile of demonic beasts to fend for itself. When it was fighting, it still had to charge into the battle. They were both spirit beasts, so why was it so miserable? Di Baiming knew that he was no match for Lan Luochen, so he retreated as he fought. He wanted to lure him to the shore. The Six Directions waterside pavilion was really not close to the shore. Even if he took a boat, it would take a night. Fortunately, Di Baiming had the water-repellent bead that Yun Chuzhou gave him, so he could move freely in the water. Lan Luochen also had the water-repellent bead. The two of them fought from the surface to the water, and Di Baiming gradually fell into a disadvantage. Lan Luochen's eyes were filled with killing intent. This time, he had to kill Di Baiming no matter what. It didn't matter even if he delayed the attack on the 10 Directions Academy because of killing him. With his cultivation, he could make a comeback at any time. Lan Luochen thought as he stepped up his attack. Seeing that Di Baiming gradually lost the ability to retaliate, Lan Luochen's face showed a smug look. Before this, even if Little Nine had fallen in love with him, so what? The winner would be the one who laughed until the end. Time would forget everything. He had enough patience to wait. Sooner or later, Little Nine would change his mind. Just as he was feeling proud, killing intent came from both sides. He hurriedly used his spiritual power to protect his body and rushed forward. Di Baiming, who originally didn't have the ability to fight back, suddenly turned around and slapped at him. Lan Luochen's heart sank. At this moment, the Qilin was entangled by the ice dragon and had no way to come over and rescue him. The lesser of the two powers, he could only dodge Di Baiming's palm and endure the attack from the left side. Lan Luochen's left shoulder was hit and his face instantly turned pale. Only then did he realize that the two people who came were also old acquaintances. One was Xue Wuji and the other was Enfeng. He sneered while fighting with the three people. Di Baiming, I thought you were some amazing person, but it turns out that you are so despicable. Not only did you sneak attack, but you also won more than you won. What kind of hero are you? Without waiting for Di Baiming to speak, Xue Wuji cursed, Bah! You are worse than a pig and a dog, and you have the nerve to say such a big thing? You are not a good person, yet you want to be a dog of the divine devil hall, yet you still have the face to bark here? Xue Wuji had not been in a good mood recently. It had been a long time since he had seen that unfaithful woman, and it had also been a long time since he had seen his precious son. The most annoying thing was that there might even be some broken engagement. Just thinking about it made him feel bad. He just so happened to vent all his anger on Lan Luochen, scolding him with all his might. Lan Luochen's face was filled with malevolence. Xue Wuji, what kind of a good person do you think you are? Aren't you also Di Baiming's dog? You are the fucking dog. This is called a good bird choosing a tree to perch on. What do you know? Xue Wuji scolded. It was not that he was bragging, other than little sister Jiu. He had never been afraid of anyone. Chapter 60-87. The four of them engaged in a chaotic battle. The situation was in a stalemate. The four of them fought from Misty Lake to the shore, but there was still no winner. Xue Wuji cursed in his heart. This evil cultivation method that Lan Luochen practiced was really powerful. It was really difficult to deal with. Lan Luochen's anxiety grew even more. He was very clear that Di Baiming and the others were deliberately luring the tiger away from the mountain. Once the battle with the 10 Directions Academy ended, they would definitely send reinforcements. When that time came, it would be as difficult as the day he wanted to kill Di Baiming. He had to end the battle quickly. He gritted his teeth and suddenly took a few steps back. While Di Baiming and the other two did not react, he bit his right index finger and began to chant an obscure secret language. Not good. He must be using some secret technique. Di Baiming and the other two immediately tried to stop him, but it was too late. Lan Luchen's eyes turned from black to blue. The spiritual Qi-Qilan in front of him let out a roar and turned into a set of blue armor to wear on Lan Luchen's body. The most unbelievable thing was that the space in front of them started to distort. The scene in front of them suddenly changed. They were teleported. Xue Wuji saw a mountain range not far away and blurted out, "Mount Linglong? We were teleported thousands of miles away." Lan Luochen wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth with his hand and then revealed a cold smile. "Don't think that I don't know what you are planning. Aren't you just trying to stall for time and wait for Little Nine to bring reinforcements to save you? Wishful thinking. It'll send you on your way right now." He raised his right hand, and blue spiritual power gushed out, directly dispersing the spiritual beasts of Di Biming and the other two, and swept towards the three of them. The three of them didn't dare to force their way in, and hurriedly dodged. Almost in an instant, the three of them fell into a disadvantageous position. They didn't dare to take Lan Luchen's attack head-on, and their attacks were all blocked by the blue armor on Lan Luchen's body, so they couldn't hurt Lan Luochen in the slightest. This was not all. The faint blue light emitted from Lan Luchen's eyes would cause people's divine senses to be in a trance. Di Biming and Xue Wuji's physiques were slightly better, but Infeng was somewhat unable to take it. His movements began to slow down. In a moment of carelessness, he was sent flying by a palm strike from Lan Luochen. He let out a miserable cry and fell far away. It was unknown whether he was alive or dead. Without Infeng, Di Bei. He still wanted to live a good life with his unfaithful daughter. He didn't want to die so early. However, they were teleported here. Even if he secretly sent a message to little sister Jiao just now, he would probably die when she arrived with her people. As time passed, Xue Wuji was also seriously injured. Only Di Biming was left struggling. With his spiritual power decreasing and his body heavily injured, Lan Luchen's voice kept echoing in his mind, "Di Biming, you trash. You don't deserve little Jiao at all. Other than meeting her a step earlier than me, what else can you compare to me? Go to hell. As long as you die, little Jiao will no longer be pursued by the divine devil Hall. She will be reunited with her parents and will live a peaceful life with me. You should never have lived in this world. You deserve to die. Hurry up and die." Di Biming's divine sense was in a bit of a daze. Lan Luchen's palm struck his front heart, and his entire body flew out, fiercely falling into the distance. Chapter 6088. Even if it meant eternal damnation, Lan Luchen's face was filled with joy. He only needed one more strike and Di Biming would die without a doubt. After scheming for so long and losing so much, it was finally time for him to get what he wanted. The heavens did not let him down. At this moment, an angry shout came from the top of his head, "Lan Luochen, you are courting death." Lan Luochen looked up and saw a small dark cloud speeding over from afar. Sitting on it was Yun Shujiao. Yun Shujiao was worried about Di Biming. After the situation in the 10 Directions Academy stabilized, she brought Director Zhao and the others to help Di Biming. She felt that Director Zhao and the other spirit ship was too slow, so she summoned the small dark cloud and flew away. Director Zhao and the others looked at Yun Shujiao, who was sitting on the dark cloud, and disappeared without a trace. They were dumbfounded. Were they seeing things? What was Martial Uncle Yen sitting on? Why was it similar to the dark cloud in the sky? Yun Shujiao quickly rushed to the shore. Although she found traces of a fight, she did not see anyone. It was not until she received the news from Xue Wuji that she found out that they had been transported to the vicinity of Mount Linglong. Only then did she rush over. Lan Luochen ignored Yun Shujiao. Right now, he only had one goal, and that was to kill Di Biming. Yun Shujiao naturally would not let him have his way. She directly let Xiao Hanio curse and released Goei Batsao and Dehua. She used this opening to land on the ground and released all the stupid cubs and puppets. Even the grasshopper eggs were summoned. As the saying goes, raising a soldier for 1,000 days, using a soldier for a moment. Now, it was time for them to put in the effort. Lan Luochen gritted his teeth. Little Jiu, I don't want to hurt you and your spiritual pets. Get out of the way. Yun Shujiu would not waste her breath on him. She threw a large pile of jade talisman seals at him, wishing that she could kill him in one go. Good, good. Little Jiu, you forced me to do this. Your useless spiritual pets have no value to live anyway. It's good that they're dead. Lan Luochen raised his right hand as he spoke, and blue power poured out. Although the dumb cubs were extraordinary, they were still young, and they were beaten to pieces. Lan Luochen said coldly, they're just a bunch of mobs. None of you are worthy to stay by Little Nine's side. All of you can go to hell. The dumb cubs were furious, and each of them used all of their abilities to attack again. However, the difference in strength was too big. After all, even Di Biming was not Lan Luchen's match. How could they be his match? In less than an hour, the dumb cubs were beaten until they had no strength to fight back. This was because their skin was rough and their flesh was thick. If it was an ordinary spirit beast, they would have died a long time ago. Yun Shujiu was anxious and angry. Her potential was as unreliable as the crow's mouth skill. She did not know when it would be activated. Even if she was anxious, there was nothing she could do. After recuperating for a moment, a determined look flashed across Di Biming's eyes. He drank the porcelain bottle that Yun Shujiu gave him in one gulp and began to activate the secret technique. He no longer had those bones in his body. If he wanted to activate the secret technique, he would have to use up his life force as the price. As for the consequences of burning his life force, he didn't know. As long as there was a slim chance, he wasn't willing to take the risk to try this method. He still wanted to accompany Little Nine to save her parents, use 10,000 Li Hong Zhuang to marry her, and accompany her to eat all the delicacies in the 3,000 continents. He didn't want to take the risk. But if he didn't do this, no one could stop Lan Luochen, and the entire Divine Enlightenment continent would fall into his hands. Little Nine would also lose her wings and become Lan Luchen's exclusive property. He would never allow such a thing to happen. Even if it will be beyond redemption, for Little Nine, he will fight with his life. Chapter 6089, An Ice Arrow. All of a sudden, Di Biming's body shone with a golden light. His ink-dyed hair had turned into snow-white silver hair. Lan Luochen stared at Di Biming maliciously. His heart moved and he said sarcastically, "Are you burning your life force? TSK, you are really stupid. Do you think you can win me just like that? But this is also good. I will leave you with a complete corpse. I will let little Jiu see how old you look. She will never want to think about this ugly scene again." Yun Shujiu treated him as if he was barking like a dog. She looked at Di Biming worriedly, but since things had come to this point, she didn't have the time to say anything. It was better to kill Lan Luochen first. "Little Jiu, go to the back and hand him over to me," Di Biming said lightly. Although Yun Shujiu was worried, she knew that she couldn't cause any more trouble at this time. She could only bring a bunch of badly bruised and stupid cuties to the back. But Face came to Yun Shujiu's side and said, "Little fairy, you don't have to worry. Your holiness will definitely kill that scum." Yun Shujiu didn't say anything. Her eyes were fixed on the battle situation in the distance. Lan Luochen saw Di Biming approaching step by step. He couldn't help but take 2 steps back and sneered, "Di Biming, don't struggle so fearlessly. Even if you do this, you won't be my match. Today is destined to be the day you die." Di Biming stopped about 10 feet away from him. He stood quietly on the spot and looked at Lan Luochen without any warmth in his eyes. Lan Luochen subconsciously took a few steps back. He gritted his teeth and raised his right hand. The dark blue power swept towards Di Biming. Di Biming only raised his right hand slightly. The dark blue power actually disappeared into thin air. Lan Luochen attacked again in disbelief. This time, as soon as the faint blue power was released, it turned into nothingness. Lan Luochen gritted his teeth, and directly rushed towards Di Biming. He had the Qilin armor on him, and even if it was a close combat, he wasn't afraid. However, as soon as he got close to Di Biming only waved his hand lightly, and the Qilin armor on Lan Luchen's body turned into dust. Lan Luochen fell heavily into the distance and spat out a mouthful of blood. Just as he was about to get up, Di Biming had already arrived in front of him. He raised his right hand and slapped towards his chest. Lan Luochen wanted to escape, but he was trapped by an invisible pressure and could not move at all. He was not afraid of death, but he was unwilling. Why did he still lose in the end? Why? Tian Dao was unfair. He just wanted to find the last trace of warmth. Why couldn't he satisfy his wish? At this moment, a huge hand appeared in the void. Under the huge pressure, Di Biming's feet sank deep into the soil. He could have tried his best to escape, but he did not choose to escape. Instead, he endured the huge pressure and attacked Lan Luochen. The giant hand suddenly descended and pressed Di Biming's entire body under the palm. A deep pit instantly appeared on the ground. Lan Luochen was overjoyed. He looked at the unresponsive pit and laughed wildly. Di Biming, accept your fate. Even if you have the ability to penetrate the heavens and earth, you can only die here in the end. Even if Di Biming did not die, he could easily kill him once the giant hand left. At this moment, he felt a chill in his chest. He lowered his head to take a look. He did not know when, but an ice arrow had silently pierced his heart. It seemed that Di Biming's palm attack was fake. In fact, it was to shoot out this ice arrow. Chapter 6090 But Face's power. Lan Luchen's heart was filled with unwillingness. He hurriedly took out a medicinal pill and wanted to swallow it. However, the ice arrow exploded in his body and turned into thousands of ice crystals that invaded his internal organs. Lan Luchen's entire body was quickly covered with a layer of solid ice. He could feel the life force in his body rapidly draining away. Was he going to die? He was not willing. However, Di Biming could not live either. In the end, he did not get little Jiu. In his next life, he would definitely meet little Jiu before he did. At this moment, he vaguely saw a figure rushing in front of him. It was little Jiu. Was she here to save him? The moment Yun Chuzhou saw Di Biming being pressed into the ground by the giant hand, her heart was torn apart. She flew over and continuously attacked the giant hand. The dumb cuties were the same. They attacked the giant hand with all their might, trying to force the giant hand back to save Di Biming, who was being pressed down. Even the grasshopper egg crashed fiercely towards the giant hand. Unfortunately, the eggshell was cracked and could not force the giant hand back at all. They were like ants trying to shake a tree. They were not a match for the giant hand at all. Yun Chuzhou suddenly thought of the large kitchen knife and took out the large kitchen knife to cut the giant hand. The huge hand was cut open and a small wound appeared. Immediately, golden liquid flowed out. The huge hand was probably angered and immediately swung its hand. Yun Chuzhou was sent flying by the huge force and directly crashed into the mountain in the distance. The huge hand lifted up from the ground and headed towards Yun Chuzhou, who had fallen to the ground. Clearly, it wanted to completely kill Yun Chuzhou. Lan Luochen, who still had a trace of his aura, roared at the top of his lungs, "Stop! You promised me that you wouldn't hurt her." The giant hand did not stop for even a second and charged towards Yun Chuzhou. Lan Luochen was angry and anxious. The deep blue color in his eyes became deeper and deeper, and the ice on his body began to melt. When the dumb cuties saw that Yun Chuzhou was sent flying by the giant hand, they were all anxious and rushed towards the direction where Yun Chuzhou had fallen. At this moment, Goei Bakeo's body suddenly became huge. It flapped its huge wings and rushed towards the giant hand. Although the giant hand was huge, but Face, who had activated its potential, did not give in. It stretched out its claws and grabbed at the giant hand, Fuck, if I, butt face, don't show my power, you will turn the sky upside down. The giant hand clearly did not expect that butt face would suddenly transform. It was caught by butt face's sharp claws. Although it was not scratched, it was forced to change its direction. Go-Wei Batsao also enlarged itself and pulled the leaves toward the giant hand. Unfortunately, this move that had worked every time in the past did not have much effect. Go-Wei Batsao was very depressed. If it had not given 2 drops of liquid to the 2 old men, it would not have lost so much of its vitality. It was really going to die. If the little girl died, where would it find such a suitable host? Seeing how heroic Buttface and Go-Wei Batsao were, the other dumb cubs immediately pounced on the giant hand. They knew that they had to fight to the death today. Otherwise, no one would be able to live. De Hua made up its mind. Damn it, it still wanted to marry a wife. It didn't want to die just like that. Therefore, it temporarily solidified its body. It flapped its small wings and flew up, giving the giant hand a bite. Then, his teeth were crushed. This fellow was simply dumbfounded. It was a Tao Tai. A Tao Tai that could eat anything. His teeth were crushed. Fortunately, it was a temporary materialized body and not his original body. Otherwise, he would have cried to death. Chapter 60-90 Buttface's power. Lan Luchen's heart was filled with unwillingness. He hurriedly took out a medicinal pill and wanted to swallow it. However, the ice arrow exploded in his body and turned into thousands of ice crystals that invaded his internal organs. Lan Luchen's entire body was quickly covered with a layer of solid ice. He could feel the life force in his body rapidly draining away. Was he going to die? He was not willing. However, Di Baiming could not live either. In the end, he did not get little Jiu. In his next life, he would definitely meet little Jiu before he did. At this moment, he vaguely saw a figure rushing in front of him. It was little Jiu. Was she here to save him? The moment Yun Chujiu saw Di Baiming being pressed into the ground by the giant hand, her heart was torn apart. She flew over and continuously attacked the giant hand. The dumb cuties were the same. They attacked the giant hand with all their might, trying to force the giant hand back to save Di Baiming, who was being pressed down. Even the grasshopper egg crashed fiercely towards the giant hand. Unfortunately, the eggshell was cracked and could not force the giant hand back at all. They were like ants trying to shake a tree. They were not a match for the giant hand at all. Yun Chujiu suddenly thought of the large kitchen knife and took out the large kitchen knife to cut the giant hand. The huge hand was cut open and a small wound appeared. Immediately, golden liquid flowed out. The huge hand was probably angered and immediately swung its hand. Yun Chujiu was sent flying by the huge force and directly crashed into the mountain in the distance. The huge hand lifted up from the ground and headed towards Yun Chujiu, who had fallen to the ground. Clearly, it wanted to completely kill Yun Chujiu. Lan Luochen, who still had a trace of his aura, roared at the top of his lungs, "Stop! You promised me that you wouldn't hurt her." The giant hand did not stop for even a second and charged towards Yun Chujiu. Lan Luochen was angry and anxious. The deep blue color in his eyes became deeper and deeper, and the ice on his body began to melt. When the dumb cuties saw that Yun Chujiu was sent flying by the giant hand, they were all anxious and rushed towards the direction where Yun Chujiu had fallen. At this moment, Go-Wei Bakeo's body suddenly became huge. It flapped its huge wings and rushed towards the giant hand. Although the giant hand was huge, Buttface, who had activated its potential, did not give in. It stretched out its claws and grabbed at the giant hand. "Fuck, if I, Buttface, don't show my power, you will turn the sky upside down." The giant hand clearly did not expect that Buttface would suddenly transform. It was caught by Buttface's sharp claws. Although it was not scratched, it was forced to change its direction. Go-Wei Batsao also enlarged itself and pulled the leaves toward the giant hand. Unfortunately, this move that had worked every time in the past did not have much effect. Gowei Butsao was very depressed. If it had not given 2 drops of liquid to the 2 old men, it would not have lost so much of its vitality. It was really going to die. If the little girl died, where would it find such a suitable host? Seeing how heroic Buttface and Gowei Butsao were, the other dumb cubs immediately pounced on the giant hand. They knew that they had to fight to the death today. Otherwise, no one would be able to live. De Hua made up its mind. Damn it, it still wanted to marry a wife. It didn't want to die just like that. Therefore, it temporarily solidified its body. It flapped its small wings and flew up, giving the giant hand a bite. Then, his teeth were crushed. This fellow was simply dumbfounded. It was a Tao Tai. A Tao Tai that could eat anything. His teeth were crushed. Fortunately, it was a temporary materialized body and not his original body. Otherwise, he would have cried to death. Chapter 6092 had been dead for a long time. Guai Chao felt that it was most likely crazy. Why did it lose half of its life? Because it did not want to see the little girl be sad. Could it be poisoned? Yun Shujiu was now completely focused on Di Biming and did not notice the strange state of Guai Chao. Yun Shujiu fed the drop of liquid in her palm to Di Biming's mouth, but she found that there was no reaction. She cut her wrist as if she was crazy and dripped the blood into Di Biming's mouth. However, the blood flowed out from the corner of Di Biming's mouth. Yun Shujiu sucked a mouthful of her own blood and placed her lips on Di Biming's mouth. She wanted to feed the blood to Di Biming, but there was no effect. Yun Shujiu hugged Di Biming in a daze. No, she did not believe that her gigolo was dead just like that. He said that he would not die. He was definitely not dead. He was just asleep. Yes, he was just asleep. He had even said that he would use her 1,000 miles of red makeup to marry her. He had even said that he would protect her peace for the rest of her life. How could he abandon her? At this moment, Shui Wuji and Enfeng staggered over. The injuries on their bodies were also very serious. They had just fainted and regained consciousness. When Shui Wuji saw the scene in the pit, his head immediately buzzed. Di Biming's face was paralyzed. Enfeng's legs went limp and he kneeled on the ground. He cried out with a heart-wrenching voice, "Your Majesty." Enfeng spat out a mouthful of blood and fainted again. Shui Wuji could only endure the pain and treat Enfeng. When Enfeng's condition stabilized, he looked at the bottom of the pit again. Yun Shijia's eyes did not have any focus. She was like a wooden sculpture, but 2 streams of tears were slowly dripping from the corners of her eyes. At this moment, Director Zhao and the others had arrived with reinforcements. Seeing the situation in front of them, they were all silent. The thing they did not want to see the most had happened. Di Biming seemed to have fallen, but they did not know what would happen to Lan Luochen. Director Zhao jumped into the pit and checked Di Biming's pulse. He immediately shook his head. There was no pulse. It seemed that he had been dead for a long time. He knew that it was useless to say anything now, so he didn't say anything. He just brought his people to stand guard in the surroundings. Buttface and the other dumb cuties looked at the 2 people at the bottom of the pit worriedly. Even Buttface, who was usually the most talkative, didn't know how to comfort Yun Shujiu. Perhaps, only time could heal such a deep pain. Yun Shujiu hugged Di Biming and did not eat, drink, or speak. After 2 hours, she cut her own arm and fed Di Biming blood. Even though the blood dripped from the corner of Di Biming's mouth to the ground, it kept repeating. The pretty boy would not die. She could definitely save him, definitely. Shui Wuji wiped his tears as he hated himself for being useless. If all of his seals were removed, perhaps the facial paralysis would not have died. Little Sister Jiu would not be so sad and hurt him so much. A day and a night passed. Yun Shujiu was still repeating her previous actions. Chu Feng and Zhuangmu, who had rushed over after hearing the news, could not help but cry when they saw the situation in front of them. Chu Feng said with difficulty, "Girl, you can't go on like this. I'm sorry for your loss. Yun Shujo did not have any reaction. It was as if the only thing left in the world was the person in her arms. She only remembered one thing, and that was to save him. He must still be alive. Zhuangmu sighed and stopped Chu Feng, who was still trying to persuade him. This hurdle could only be overcome by herself. No one could help her. If you find any errors, ads pop-up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 6093 had a golden light with bloodlines. Another day passed, and the sky darkened. A full moon hung in the sky. Everyone was dead silent. Even Buttface and the others didn't make any movements. They all looked worriedly at Yun Shujo, who was still silent. Yun Shujo cut her wrist again and dripped blood into Di Baiming's mouth. Unfortunately, as usual, blood dripped from the corner of Di Baiming's mouth onto the ground. The ground beside them was already soaked in blood, but Yun Shujo did not notice it at all. At midnight, the soil that was soaked in Yun Shuji's blood was filled with strands of golden light with red bloodlines. The golden light gradually disappeared into Di Baiming's body. Yun Shuji's gaze finally focused. She fixed her eyes on the scene in front of her. She did not dare to move at all, afraid that everything in front of her was an illusion. On the ground, Shui Wuji and the others were also staring at this scene with their mouths agape. Their eyes could not help but be filled with anticipation. Perhaps there was still a chance. Di Baiming's pale face gradually turned blood red. Yun Shujo could feel that his body had become warmer. A huge ecstasy surged in her heart. However, she did not dare to speak or move. She was afraid that this was a dream. She woke up as soon as she moved. At this moment, the golden light intensified. The dazzling light pierced everyone's eyes, and Yun Shujo was no exception. However, she felt that her hand was empty. She ignored the dazzling golden light and opened her eyes in fear. She saw Di Baiming's entire body turn into nothingness in the golden light. Yun Shujo spat out a mouthful of blood. She closed her eyes and fainted. When Yun Shujo regained consciousness again, she was still at the bottom of the pit. Shui Wuji and the others were waiting nervously at the side. They wanted to send Yun Shujo back to the 10 Directions Academy, but knowing her character, they did not move her in the end. Yun Shuji's eyes were blank at first, then she suddenly sat up and looked around in panic. Where is the gigolo? Where is my gigolo? Where is he? Where did you hide him? Give him back to me. Please give him back to me. Where did you hide him? Shui Wuji forced a smile and said, Little Sister Jo, calm down first. Think about it. This is a good thing. I don't know where the facial paralysis went, but at least it means that he is still alive. Maybe he is hiding somewhere to recover. When he recovers, he will come to find you. Yun Shujo looked at him in a daze. Is what you said true? The gigolo just went to recover? You didn't lie to me? Why would I lie to you? That facial paralysis must have gone to recuperate. You have to take good care of yourself. Otherwise, when he comes back and sees that you've become an old woman, he might despise you. He dares. Otherwise, when he comes back and sees that I'm disobedient, he'll be angry. I'll sleep now. Maybe I'll dream of him. As Yun Shujo spoke, she lay straight at the bottom of the pit and closed her eyes. Everyone turned their heads when they saw Yun Shujo like this. They couldn't bear to look at her anymore. How was she still the lively little girl from before? She was obviously too sad and crazy. In the next few days, Yun Shujo ate when she was supposed to eat and slept when she was supposed to sleep. However, she stayed at the bottom of the pit. It was obvious that she didn't plan to go out. The battle between the various major factions and the gods and demons had not completely ended. Chu Feng and the others could not stay here forever. Fortunately, Shui Wuji and Enfeng were here. Chu Feng and the others left with a team of guards and sighed as they left. Chapter 6094 Destruction of the Divine Devil Temple. As time passed, news came one after another. As Lan Luochen was nowhere to be found, the Divine Devil Temple's strength was greatly weakened. After a few months of fighting, they were at a disadvantage. The Alliance of 10,000 Cities and the Iron Blood Alliance were divided under the heavy pressure. They changed masters and eventually surrendered. The 10 Directions Academy, the Divine Enlightenment Academy, and the 10,000 Buddha's Sacred Temple obtained the final victory. However, when they arrived at the Divine Devil Palace, they didn't find the mysterious master of the Divine Devil Palace. The remaining higher-ups of the Divine Devil Palace had all died because of the spiritual imprint, and the Divine Devil Palace had been destroyed just like that. Everyone couldn't help but feel a little dazed. The Divine Devil Palace had existed for tens of thousands of years, but it had been destroyed just like that? Why did it feel so surreal? However, that was the truth. It was as if the Divine Devil Hall had disappeared from the Divine Enlightenment continent overnight. Even the higher-ups of the lower continents had perished almost at the same time because of the divine sense imprints. The remaining small fries were nothing to be afraid of. They were quickly swallowed up by the other forces. Yun Shijia's emotions did not fluctuate much when she heard the news. Ever since Di Baiming disappeared from her sight, she seemed to have lost her emotions, leaving only numbness. She ate, slept, and cultivated mechanically every day. She did not even speak a single word for a day. When Xue Wuji saw her like this, he did not know how to comfort her. He could only silently guard her safety with Enfeng. On this day, Xue Wuji sat not far from the deep pit as usual, frowning. However, rustling sounds came from the bushes. Xue Wuji's eyes turned cold. Just as he was about to make a move, he heard a sobbing voice, "Don't make a move, it's me, it's me." Xue Wuji focused his eyes and saw a dirty yellow snake crawling out from the bushes. If it didn't speak human language, it would really be no different from the lowest level demon snake. "Are you the spirit pet of the facial paralysis, the little perverted dragon?" Xue Wuji asked suspiciously. "Yeah, isn't that me? You guys are so mean, no one cares about my life. You actually threw me into the misty lake and didn't care about me. I spent a lot of effort to save my life and found you guys. If it wasn't for the contract, I really wanted to establish my own sect," the little perverted dragon said with a sad face. That day, Di Baiming and the other two attacked Lan Luochen at the Misty Lake, and the little dragon was also sent out by Di Baiming to help. Although it wasn't afraid of the water, its fighting strength in the water was greatly reduced, and because it was injured, it got separated from Di Baiming and the others after a long time. By the time it swam to the shore, there was no trace of Di Baiming and the others. Fortunately, the spirit pet and its master could sense each other. This feeling was affected by the distance, so the little dragon could only sense the general direction. So, it set off on the road to find its master. It was already not far from the exquisite mountain, but suddenly, its cultivation level was reduced by 80 to 90%. Its body shape also changed from the majestic golden dragon to a small yellow snake. The little yellow dragon was completely dumbfounded. What kind of sin had it committed? How could it have degenerated? As its cultivation level had fallen to the bottom of the food chain, the little yellow dragon's situation became more and more difficult. It was not a long journey, but it took a few months to reach here with a slim chance of survival. Xue Wuji was stunned for a moment, then his face revealed an ecstatic expression. He grabbed the little yellow dragon's tail and jumped into the deep pit excitedly. Little Sister Jiu, look, what is this?" Yun Shijia's eyes indifferently fell on the little yellow dragon that Xue Wuji was holding, but she did not say anything. Xue Wuji did not care much and threw the little yellow dragon on the ground. He shook Yun Shujio and said in ecstasy, "Little Sister Jiu, this is a little yellow dragon. It's still alive, and its contract with facial paralysis is still there. It means that facial paralysis is really not dead." Chapter 6094 Destruction of the Divine Devil Temple. As time passed, news came one after another. As Lan Luochen was nowhere to be found, the Divine Devil Temple's strength was greatly weakened. After a few months of fighting, they were at a disadvantage. The alliance of 10,000 cities and the Iron Blood Alliance were divided under the heavy pressure. They changed masters and eventually surrendered. The 10 Directions Academy, the Divine Enlightenment Academy, and the 10,000 Buddha's Sacred Temple obtained the final victory. However, when they arrived at the Divine Devil Palace, they didn't find the mysterious master of the Divine Devil Palace. The remaining higher-ups of the Divine Devil Palace had all died because of the spiritual imprint, and the Divine Devil Palace had been destroyed just like that. Everyone couldn't help but feel a little dazed. The Divine Devil Palace had existed for tens of thousands of years, but it had been destroyed just like that? Why did it feel so surreal? However, that was the truth. It was as if the Divine Devil Hall had disappeared from the Divine Enlightenment continent overnight. Even the higher-ups of the lower continents had perished almost at the same time because of the divine sense imprints. The remaining small fries were nothing to be afraid of. They were quickly swallowed up by the other forces. Yun Shijia's emotions did not fluctuate much when she heard the news. Ever since Di Biming disappeared from her sight, she seemed to have lost her emotions, leaving only numbness. She ate, slept, and cultivated mechanically every day. She did not even speak a single word for a day. When Xue Wuji saw her like this, he did not know how to comfort her. He could only silently guard her safety with Enfeng. On this day, Xue Wuji sat not far from the deep pit as usual, frowning. However, rustling sounds came from the bushes. Xue Wuji's eyes turned cold. Just as he was about to make a move, he heard a sobbing voice, "Don't make a move, it's me, it's me." Xue Wuji focused his eyes and saw a dirty yellow snake crawling out from the bushes. If it didn't speak human language, it would really be no different from the lowest level demon snake. "Are you the spirit pet of the facial paralysis, the little perverted dragon?" Xue Wuji asked suspiciously. "Yeah, isn't that me? You guys are so mean, no one cares about my life. You actually threw me into the misty lake and didn't care about me. I spent a lot of effort to save my life and found you guys. If it wasn't for the contract, I really wanted to establish my own sect," the little perverted dragon said with a sad face. That day, Di Biming and the other two attacked Lan Luochen at the Misty Lake, and the little dragon was. Although it wasn't afraid of the water, its fighting strength in the water was greatly reduced, and because it was injured, it got separated from Di Biming and the others after a long time. By the time it swam to the shore, there was no trace of Di Biming and the others. Fortunately, the spirit pet and its master could sense each other. This feeling was affected by the distance, so the little dragon could only sense the general direction. So, it set off on the road to find its master. It was already not far from the exquisite mountain, but suddenly, its cultivation level was reduced by 80 to 90%. Its body shape also changed from the majestic golden dragon to a small yellow snake. The little yellow dragon was completely dumbfounded. What kind of sin had it committed? How could it have degenerated? As its cultivation level had fallen to the bottom of the food chain, the little yellow dragon's situation became more and more difficult. It was not a long journey, but it took a few months to reach here with a slim chance of survival. Xue Wuji was stunned for a moment, then his face revealed an ecstatic expression. He grabbed the little yellow dragon's tail and jumped into the deep pit excitedly. Little Sister Jiu, look, what is this?" Yun Shijia's eyes indifferently fell on the little yellow dragon that Xue Wuji was holding, but she did not say anything. Xue Wuji did not care much and threw the little yellow dragon on the ground. He shook Yun Shijio and said in ecstasy, "Little Sister Jiu, this is a little yellow dragon. It's still alive, and its contract with facial paralysis is still there. It means that facial paralysis is really not dead. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 6096 Cultivation Base Sword. Yun Shujio was shocked when she heard Xiao Heinio's words. The golden light from that day had indeed gathered in Biming's body from the soil. Could it really be related to the liquid flowing out of the giant hand? That liquid was most likely the blood of the temple master of the divine devil temple. However, she did not know why his blood was golden. It seemed that the most important thing now was to find the temple master of the divine devil temple or find Lan Luochen. And Feng, who had been standing by the side, said suddenly, "You forgot one person." "Who?" Su Yenran. Although many of the higher-ups of the divine devil temple had died, there was no news about Su Yenran. The giant hand had attacked twice for Su Yenran. Apparently, Su Yenran was as useful to him as Lan Luochen. However, Su Yenran often disappeared for a long time, which really puzzled me. Yun Shujiu and Xue Wuji looked at each other. Yes, they had forgotten about Su Yenran. However, Su Yenran was just like the temple master of the divine devil temple. Her whereabouts were mysterious, and it was as difficult as climbing up to the sky to find her. Xue Wuji could not help but sigh. He thought of his unfaithful woman. The whereabouts of the unfaithful woman were also extremely mysterious. He did not know where she was at all. Previously, he had lied to him that he could meet her once his cultivation reached the level of spiritual fusion. Later, he found out that there was no such cultivation level as spiritual fusion, okay? This heartless woman clearly did not want to see him. He did not know if the unfaithful woman would change her heart and find a stepfather for Roy heir. After a moment of silence, Yun Shujiu said, "No matter where the gigolo is, as long as I persevere, I will definitely be able to find him. I will ask my master and the others to send people to look for clues. The two of you will accompany me to the place where the thunderstruck stones are produced to look for the thunderstruck stones. I want to raise my cultivation level as soon as possible." Previously, Yun Shujiu was worried about the pursuit of the divine devil hall, so she did not dare to rashly go to the place where the thunderstruck stones were produced. Now, she no longer had to worry so much. Moreover, she hoped that she could meet the remnants of the divine devil hall and perhaps obtain some useful clues. In the next few months, Yun Shujiu, Xue Wuji, and Feng, and a group of dumb beasts began to collect lightning strike stones from various places. Although Xue Wuji and Feng did not say it, they were worried in their hearts. Yun Shujiu was not cultivating. She was completely putting her life on the line. Every time she went to a place where lightning strike stones were produced, she would not only absorb the power of lightning from those lightning strike stones, but she would also deliberately provoke those lightning-type demon beasts. She was wounded by the thunder-type beasts time and time again, but she did not allow them to interfere. She only wanted to absorb the power of lightning from the bodies of the thunder-type beasts. Yun Shujiu worked hard to cultivate. Even if she was not struck by lightning again, Yun Shujiu's cultivation base had soared to the 5th level of Xinqing realm. The three of them had visited almost all the thunderstruck rocks in the Divine Enlightenment continent before returning to the 10 Directions Academy. After returning to the 10 Directions Academy, Yun Shujiu began to learn the earth-grade alchemy and talisman-making skills from Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu. As she no longer held back, her amazing talent surprised and delighted Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu. However, looking at their precious disciple who rarely smiled, they were both surprised and worried. However, no matter what methods they used, they could not make Yun Shujiu really happy, let alone return to her usual cheeky appearance. A year passed in the blink of an eye. Even though the 10 Directional Academy sent many people to scout for news, they still did not have any valuable clues. Not only did they not have any clues about Biming, they did not even have any news about the Divine Devil Hall Master and the others. It was as if these people had disappeared into thin air. Chapter 6097 The little grasshopper broke its shell on this day. Yun Shujiu's spirit beast bag finally regained some of its usual hustle and bustle because the little grasshopper had finally broken its shell. Originally, the little grasshopper would need at least 3 years to break its shell. However, when it attacked the giant hand previously, countless cracks appeared on the eggshell. As a result, the little grasshopper gave birth prematurely. Buttface and the others looked at the skinny little bug that had crawled out of the egg and laughed uncontrollably. Previously, the 1,000-year-old corpse turtle emperor bug was more than 6 feet long, but now it was only an inch long. What are you laughing at? I became like this because I gave birth prematurely. Otherwise, I would have been 5 feet long when I was born. The little grasshopper said in embarrassment. When Buttface and the others heard the little grasshopper's words, they laughed even more happily. They were so angry that the little grasshopper almost died when it was born. Even Yunchujo, who rarely smiled in the past year, curled the corners of her lips, but she did not stop the silly cuties from fooling around. At this moment, Sha Mo, who had been quiet all this time, said, "Little girl, you have already been seriously infected by the corpse aura, right? I advise you to help me find His Majesty the Demon Emperor as soon as possible. Otherwise, you will become a walking corpse sooner or later." Yunchujo had long forgotten about the matter of fooling Sha Mo that day. Only after hearing Sha Mo's words did she remember that there was such a thing. Therefore, she hurriedly called Shua Wuji over so that Sha Mo could identify him. Sha Mo shook his head repeatedly. "No, he's not the Demon Emperor. He doesn't have the aura of the Demon Emperor at all." Yunchujo frowned. She had thought that Shua Wuji might be the Demon Emperor, but now it seemed that she was overthinking. She had 2 reasons for keeping Sha Mo. Firstly, she was worried that Yun Fengjin and Yilan were reincarnated from the demon race, and secondly, she was worried that Shua Wuji's background would implicate the demon race. Now, after her mediation, the 10,000 Buddha's sacred hall had released Yun Fengjin and Yilan. However, the Zen sect had been sending people to monitor their whereabouts. However, she wondered if Shua Wuji would be related to the demon race in the future. Sha Mo saw that Yunchujo had no intention of looking for the Demon Emperor, so he snorted coldly, "Don't you want to dissolve the corpse chi in your body? If you delay any longer, there's no hope even if you go to the demon race continent." Yunchujo said indifferently, "Of course I want to go, but there are too few clues about the Demon Emperor. No matter how anxious I am, there's not. If your lover was the Demon Emperor, you would have tried your best to find him long ago. Let me tell you, maybe your lover is on the demon continent." Yunchujo was shocked, but she still looked indifferent. "Do you think I can believe you? Believe it or not. Didn't you say that your lover turned into nothingness? The Heavenly Demon Clan has such a secret technique. Maybe your lover is from the Heavenly Demon Clan. Normally, after using this secret technique, one would be teleported back to the Demon Clan continent. Of course, it might hurt one's vitality greatly, but at least one would be able to survive." Yunchujo was unable to determine whether Sha Mo was speaking the truth or not, but she had a glimmer of hope in her heart. Perhaps the pretty boy had really gone to the Demon Clan continent. Shua Wuji snorted coldly from the side, "Little sister Jo, don't listen to this old thing's nonsense. He just wants to trick you into helping him find some demon emperor." Sha Mo also snorted coldly and said, "I, Sha Mo Yi, have never disdained to lie. If you don't believe me, then forget it. Just pretend that I didn't say anything. In any case, little girl, if you don't hurry up and find the demon emperor, you will really become the legendary demon." Chapter 6098, Shua Wuji was robbed. Yunchujo cut off the spiritual sense connection with Sha Mo and looked at Shua Wuji. "Brother Wuji, do you think what Sha Mo said is true? Could the pretty boy really be from the heavenly demon race? Did he really go to the demon continent?" Shua Wuji scratched his head. "I don't know. Sha Mo wants to find the so-called demon emperor. He might be lying to you." Yunchujo was silent for a long time. "Even if there is a glimmer of hope, I don't want to give up. If there are still no clues after some time, I will go to the devil race continent to take a look." Shua Wuji said with a troubled expression, "Little sister Jo, although the devil race can also absorb spiritual power, they mainly absorb devil chi. Your cultivation will probably drop a lot when you go to the devil race continent." Although Shua Wuji didn't say it in a subtle way, Yunchujo understood his underlying meaning. She might not be able to protect herself when she reached the demon continent, not to mention finding clues about de-biming. Man makes the best of things, Yun Chuzhou said slowly and firmly. Shui Wuji couldn't say anything when he saw her like this, but he felt very bitter in his heart. He really didn't want to go to the demon continent. What if the so-called engagement was true? What if he was robbed when he arrived at the demon continent? He couldn't let that unfaithful woman down. Yun Chuzhou seemed to have noticed something. She glanced at Shui Wuji and said, "I'll go there by myself. You and the little lunatic will stay in the divine enlightenment continent and continue to look for clues." "How can I do that? Without that facial paralysis, as your elder brother, I have to protect your safety. Isn't it just the demon continent? What's so great about it? I'll accompany you to explore it." Yun Chuzhou didn't say anything, but she made up her mind. When the time came, she would go alone. She couldn't drag Shui Wuji down with her. If this fellow was really snatched away by some little demon, how would she have the face to meet Chi in the future? Unfortunately, the plan didn't change quickly. Before Yun Chuzhou could decide when to go to the demon continent, Shui Wuji was actually kidnapped. On this day, Yun Chuzhou was cultivating when Enfeng stumbled in. "Miss Zhou, something bad happened. Young Master Wuji was kidnapped by..." "No, by something." Yun Chuzhou was dumbfounded. "What did you say? What do you mean by something kidnapped him?" On the way to the accident site, Enfeng told them what happened. Just 15 minutes ago, when he was talking with Shui Wuji, several balls of black mist suddenly appeared in the courtyard. Before they could react, those balls of black fog wrapped around Shui Wuji and used some unknown method to disappear in an instant. Yun Chuzhou arrived at the courtyard where the accident. Black fog? Could it be the demon race? She immediately let Sha Mo out and asked, "Could you smell the residual aura of the demon race?" Sha Mo sniffed and his old face immediately became excited. "That's right, it is indeed the aura left behind by the demon race. Could it be that the demon race has also sent people to look for His Majesty?" Yun Chuzhou sneered. 10,000 years have passed. Perhaps the demon race has already re-elected the demon emperor. Why would they send people to look for the demon emperor? Sha Mo immediately rebuked angrily, "Shut up. No one can replace the position of the demon emperor in the hearts of our demon race. No one has the right to be called the demon emperor again." Yun Chuzhou was very convinced of Sha Mo's loyalty towards the demon emperor. This could not be described as loyalty anymore. He was just a proper brainless fan. Chapter 6099. Enfeng's advice. Yun Chuzhou ignored the furious Sha Mo. She thought that Shui Wuji had most likely been taken away by the demons, and it was obvious that they were not after his life. Could it really have something to do with the engagement he mentioned? Was he robbed of his wife? The more Yun Chuzhou thought about it, the more she felt that it was more likely. Moreover, the person he was engaged to was not an ordinary person among the demons. It had been a long time since the demon race had appeared on the human continent. If not for the instigation of the higher-ups of the demon race would not have appeared on the human continent so easily. After all, if they were discovered, it might cause another great war between the human race and the demon race. It seemed that they had no choice but to go to the demon continent. However, they had to think of a way to trick Sha Mo into taking her to the demon continent willingly. Therefore, Yun Chuzhou gave Enfeng a subtle look. Enfeng was a qualified subordinate, so he had a little bit of comprehension ability. He nodded his head immediately. "Little lunatic, you just told me that the person who took Wu Ji's head was from the demon princess?" Enfeng nodded his head immediately. "Yes, they said that young Master Wuji was engaged to the demon princess, so they took young Master Wuji away." Sha Mo immediately snorted. "Nonsense. When the demon emperor disappeared, he wasn't married yet. Where did the princess come from?" "But, that's exactly what they said. They even said that the demon emperor had already set a date for the wedding. It's the day next month." And Feng said nonsense with a serious face. Sha Mo immediately became excited. What? Demon Emperor? Could it be that His Majesty has already been welcomed back? Moreover, he has married a concubine and has a son? That's not right. Even if the Demon Emperor has been welcomed back, how could the princess have an engagement with that Shui Wuji? You must be talking nonsense. Young Master Wuji has a seal on his body. Perhaps he fell back then because he was looking for the Demon Emperor. In order to reward him, the Demon Emperor might have arranged an engagement between him and the princess, Feng said. Feng felt that his ability to lie had improved by leaps and bounds. Even if he worked hard, he could catch up to Miss Jiu. Sha Mo was still a little skeptical. Yun Shujiu said indifferently, forget it. Anyway, it's a good thing for Brother Wu Ji to go to the demon race to be the prince consort. Let's silently bless him. Sha Mo, don't worry. I will continue to help you find the whereabouts of the Demon Emperor. It's best if you can find him. It doesn't matter if you. After saying that, Yun Shujiu did not care about Sha Mo's reaction. She directly put him into the spirit beast bag and cut off the connection with his divine sense. Feng then said in a low voice, "Ninth Miss, will he take us to the demon continent?" Yun Shujiu said indifferently, he will agree. Moreover, he will cry and beg me to go. Feng nodded. After hesitating for a moment, he said, "Ninth Miss, logically speaking, you are the master and I am the servant. There are some words that should not be overstepped, but I still think it is necessary to say it." Yun Shujiu raised her eyebrows slightly. Just say it. Feng then said, "Miss Jiu, I can understand your feelings. After all, Your Excellency is missing, and you feel bad. However, so much time has passed, and Your Excellency's life is not in danger. You should let yourself out of the haze. I believe that if Your Excellency knows that you are unhappy every day, he will definitely feel sorry for you. One day, when you are reunited, he will definitely feel extremely guilty when he sees you like this. Therefore, Ninth Miss, whether it is for your own sake or Your Holiness, please open your heart and stop torturing yourself. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know your report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 6100, but Face's good idea and Feng's words made Yun Shujiu silent for a long time. "I'm not torturing myself, but I feel that many things have lost their color. Nothing can make me feel happy." Feng sighed. He knew that it was futile to say anything. She could only walk out by herself. Yun Shujiu continued, "You don't have to follow me to the demon continent anymore. Jin Ji has already ascended to the heavy cloud continent. It's time for you to marry her. After I reunite with the pretty boy, it's not too late for you to return to his side and serve him." Feng was shocked. "Miss Jiu," Yun Shujiu waved her hand, "there's no need to say anything else. What you've done is worthy of your master-servant relationship. However, you owe Jin Ji and yourself a lot. It's time for you to live your life well. Besides, after I go to the demon continent, the Yun family and my parents still need you to take care of them. I will entrust them to you." Feng wanted to say something, but when he saw the determination on Yun Shujiu's face, he could only bow respectfully. "Miss Jiu, please rest assured. As long as I'm still alive, I will never let the Yun family and your parents be bullied." Yun Shujiu nodded. Although she really wanted to visit her grandfather and her parents, she did not want them to see her current state. Even if others did not say it, she knew that her current state was very bad. She did not have any signs of life. She was like a pool of stagnant water. If they saw her, they would feel worried and would rather not see her. That night, Yun Shujiu hugged one of Di Baiming's clothes and closed her eyes as usual. Only in this way would she be able to obtain some comfort and let herself believe that Di Baiming was still alive. In her half-asleep state, Yun Shujiu vaguely saw a figure standing in front of her bed. Tears immediately flowed down her face. She did not dare to move and did not dare to say a word. She was afraid that everything in front of her would vanish into thin air and cease to exist. The person in front of her had a head of silver hair and was still that familiar cold face. His eyes were still filled with the familiar doting look. "Little Jiu, are you blaming me?" Yun Shujo bit her lips and shook her head repeatedly. She wanted to say something, but her throat was blocked so badly that she could not say a word. "Little Jiu, do you not believe me?" Yun Shujo shook her head again and again. In this world, the person she trusted the most was him. How could she not believe him? "Since you don't blame me and trust me, why did you torture yourself into this state? When we meet again, I hope to see you as happy as you were in the past, and not as unhappy as you were in the past. Promise me, okay?" Yun Shujo nodded desperately with tears flowing down her face. She reached out to hold Di Biming's hand, but she suddenly woke up. So, it was just a dream? Yun Shujo was stunned for a long time, then she hugged Di Biming's clothes and started sobbing. Outside the primal institution, Yun Shujia's group of stupid Meng Yanshou were whispering to each other. "But face, can your method really work?" Meng Yanshou, who had just sneaked out of the courtyard, asked suspiciously. "As long as you follow my method, the little fairy will definitely return to her happy appearance. Do you want to see her now?" "I'm not bragging. All of you are blockheads. Only I can draw inferences from your actions. What that little lunatic said today has clearly touched the little fairy. As long as we add fuel to the fire, this matter will definitely be done." The silly cuties felt sorry for Yun Shujo when they saw her like this, but there was nothing they could do to help. Therefore, they went to the hospital in a desperate situation and listened to Buttface's arrangements. Just as Buttface was feeling pleased with himself, the courtyard door was pushed open. Yun Shujia's slightly hoarse voice sounded, "Buttface, come over here. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know your report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 6101, Living Recklessly. Buttface's entire dog was in trouble. It was over. He had been exposed. He rubbed in front of Yun Shujo and said in a stammering manner, "Little fairy, I am a dog with a lot of guts. I'm not a human. Yes, I'm not a dog. If you don't forgive me for being a dog, please spare me this time." As he spoke, he looked at the other dumb cuties for help. Unfortunately, none of them spoke up for him. They all understood the principle of a dead fellow Daoist not dying. Especially the nightmare beast. It even added insult to injury and said, "Little fairy, I was tricked by dog too. If you want to punish it, punish it. I'm at most an accomplice." Dog 2 was so angry that it almost died. How smug it was just now was how miserable it was now. Just as it was feeling sorry for itself, Yun Shujo said in a hoarse voice, "Add a chicken drumstick every day from now on." But face the other dumb cuties, she wasn't punished, but she was rewarded? The little fairy must have gone mad, right? Yun Shujo looked up at the sky, and there were sparkling tears in the corners of her eyes. Even though the dream is fake, you're right. The pretty boy would definitely not want to see me like this. Happy is a day, and unhappy is a day. Even if I cry all day long, it won't change anything. I might as well live as I please, so that he won't feel guilty and hurt in the future. Buttface immediately said eagerly, "Little fairy, you're right. No matter if you're a human or a beast, you have to be heartless. Look at me, I used to be awesome. But now that I've become like this, am I not happy too? As long as I'm alive, any difficulty is nothing." The other dumb cubs nodded in agreement. Most of them had had extremely glorious times. Now, they could be said to be like a tiger that had fallen to the plains. However, they did not give up because of this. Nothing was more important than being alive. Yun Shujo wiped her tears with her hand and revealed a brilliant smile. "Yes, nothing is more important than being alive. I was the one who went overboard. When the dumb-witted girls saw the long-lost smile on Yunchujia's face, they heaved a sigh of relief in their hearts. They only felt that the haze of the past few days had been swept away. At this moment, Yunchujio suddenly sat cross-legged on the ground. It was an epiphany. The commotion here also alarmed Chu Feng and Zhuangmu. When the two of them rushed over, Yunchujio was still in the midst of an epiphany. It was not until dawn that Yunchujia's body began to glow. She had actually broken through to the 7th layer of the Xinqing realm. Chu Feng was so happy that he could not close his mouth. Before he and Zhuangmu he did not expect that their precious disciple had only used a little over a year to break through to the 7th layer of the Xinqing realm. This talent was simply too abnormal. What made him even happier was that his lively and precious disciple had returned. Chu Feng and Zhuangmu could not help but shed tears. Their hearts that had been on their minds all this time were finally at ease. Seeing the two of them like this, Yunchujio felt very guilty in her heart. Master, I have made you worry. I have already thought it through. I will not dwell on it in the future. It's good that you have thought it through. As the saying goes, a lover will eventually return home. That brat will definitely return safely. Chu Feng said with a gratified look. In the following period, Yunchujio had been stabilizing her cultivation in the Academy of 10 Directions. She gradually returned to her usual lively and cheerful personality. Sha Mo thought that Yunchujio would once again encourage him to return to the Devil's Continent. However, he found that Yunchujio did not seem to have such a plan. Since the last time, she did not bother with him at all. Sha Mo couldn't sit still anymore. Chapter 6102 The Entrance to the Demon Continent. Sha Mo pondered over Yunchujio and Enfeng's words. Could it be that His Majesty the Demon Emperor had really returned to the Demon Continent? Or could it be that someone had the audacity to usurp the throne? No matter what the situation was, he could not stay out of it. If it was really His Majesty the Demon Emperor, he naturally had to go back and serve him well. If it was someone who usurped the throne, he would put his life on the line to make things right. With this thought in mind, Sha Mo anxiously asked Buttface to pass on a message. Little girl, you don't have to look for His Majesty the Demon Emperor. I will bring you back to the Demon Continent now, how about it? Yunchujio chewed on the spirit fruit in her hand and said indifferently, that's not very good, right? I didn't meet your conditions. How can I be so thick-skinned to follow you to the Demon Continent? No matter what, we have signed a demon god contract, so I naturally have to consider our friendship. Let's not waste any time. We will set off immediately. Otherwise, I'm afraid you will really become a demon. Sha Mo said anxiously. Yunchujio was silent for a while and then said, all right, you begged me. Otherwise, I wouldn't be in a hurry to go to the Demon Continent. After all, I'm not familiar with this place, so I'd rather be a demon in the God Enlightenment Continent than a demon in the Demon Continent. The demon collapsed. He wanted to vent his anger, but he was afraid that Yunchujio wouldn't go back to the Demon Continent with him. Therefore, he could only swallow his anger and say, all right. Even if I beg you, you can do it, right? Let's hurry up and set off. The most secure entrance to the Demon Continent is in the Heavy Cloud Continent. It will take a lot of time on the way. The Heavy Cloud Continent? Yunchujio was a bit surprised. She thought that there would be an entrance to the God Enlightenment Continent. She didn't expect that they would have to go to the Heavy Cloud Continent. She immediately went to see Chu Feng and Zhuangmu. She didn't mention anything about the demons, but said that she would go out to look for Di Biming. The two didn't doubt her words. They reminded her to be careful. Yunchujio told Ding Wenru again, and then left the academy with Enfeng and Ding Wenru. They sped all the way to the Chongshao continent. Yunchujio did not sigh with emotion as she wanted to go back to the Devil's Continent to find out about Di Biming. Enfeng wanted to follow them, but he could not dissuade Yunchujio, so he had to part ways with her. Yunchujio was guided by Sha Mo, but she found the direction looked familiar. Wasn't this the direction of the Qing family in the Valley of Fog? Was the so-called entrance to the Devil's Continent at the back mountain of the Qing family? Back then, Qing Shaoqing of the Qing family imprisoned her father and killed her relatives for the secret of the back mountain. In the end, she couldn't find out the truth from Qing Haotian, the master of the Qing family. Could the secret of the back mountain of the Qing family be a teleportation array that could travel to and from different continents? The more Yun Chujiu thought about it, the more she felt that this was the case. This was the only way to explain why Qing Si was teleported to the Qing Xian continent back then. It was no wonder that Qing Haotian kept such a shocking secret like the entrance to the demon race continent. Naturally, he could not reveal it. Otherwise, what awaited the Qing family in the Valley of Fog would be a disaster. Yun Chujiu thought about it again and again, but she still did not go to see Qing Si and the master of the Qing family. After all, the human race and the demon race were mortal enemies. If the news of her going to the demon race was spread out, it might bring unnecessary trouble to those close to her. As expected, the place that Sha Mo ultimately guided was indeed the back mountain of the Qing family. Yun Chujia's heart moved. She thought of a possibility and said to Sha Mo, "Your demon race sure has good methods. You actually planted a stronghold here." "It's not really a stronghold. It's just a way out." Sha Mo did not hide it. Anyway, the little girl was in the same boat as him, so she would not dare to tell anyone. Chapter 6103 Evil Wind. Could the people of the Qing family of the Fog Valley be demons? Yun Chujiu asked in surprise. The Qing family of the Fog Valley? Are you talking about the people guarding this place? I don't know anything about the Qing family of the Fog Valley. I just know that the demon emperor was kind to this family, so this family voluntarily stayed to guard this teleportation array. Sigh, this is the blessing of His Majesty the Demon Emperor. If someone really dares to usurp the throne, I will kill him even at the cost of my old bones. Yun Chujiu didn't pay attention to Sha Mo's chattering. She thought that the Demon Emperor had a good trick to make the Qing family guard this teleportation array for such a long time. Of course, as time went by, the master of the Qing family might not know that this teleportation array was the entrance to the demon continent. He just thought that it could lead to other continents. Even so, as the saying goes, having a treasure is a sin. Naturally, he would continue to keep his mouth shut. At this moment, Sha Mo said, "Let me out. I will activate the teleportation array." Yun Chujiu immediately let Sha Mo out. Sha Mo turned into a cloud of black fog. She did not know how he did it, but a transparent barrier appeared in front of them. Sha Mo wanted to take the opportunity to leave Yun Chujiu behind and escape back to the demon continent. However, when he thought of the contract between him and Yun Chujiu, he could only give up this idea. The contract between the demon god was very overbearing. No matter how far he ran, as long as Yun Chujiu thought about it, he could only die. Although the demon race was immortal and could be reincarnated in the future, he still had many things to do. Naturally, he wasn't willing to die just like that. Anyway, this little girl was not familiar with the demon continent, so he had to hope that he could help her get closer to the heavenly demon tribe and learn the supreme demonic code. By then, there would be a lot of ways for her to break the contract with the demon god. Thinking of this, Sha Mo said to He Xinjiu in a bad mood, "What are you waiting for? Hurry up and go in." Yun Chujiu did not argue with him and walked into the enchantment. Sha Mo followed closely behind. With a flash of light, everything returned to its original calm. The teleportation passage was filled with a biting cold wind. Sha Mo was gloating in his heart. Although the wind was not fatal, it would make people feel pain as if they were being dismembered. Since he could turn into a mist, he naturally did not feel any pain. However, that wretched girl was different. She would definitely be cut by the Sha wind and cry like a ghost. Just thinking about it was enough to vent his anger. However, he was soon disappointed. That was because he saw that wretched girl hiding in a big iron pot. She had not been cut by the Sha wind at all. Sha Mo was furious. This wretched girl was really cunning. She had actually made preparations in advance. However, wasn't this big iron pot too sturdy? It could even withstand the evil wind? After an unknown amount of time, Yun Shujo and Sha Mo finally felt that they were on solid ground. Yun Shujo crawled out of the big iron pot and looked around. She was surprised to find that there was a city not far away from them. It did not look much different from a human city. Sha Mo hunched his back and tears streamed down his face. He muttered, "I never thought that I, Sha Mo Yi, would have the day to return to the Imperial City." Imperial City? You said that the city in the distance is the Imperial City of your demon race? Yun Shujo asked in shock. Sha Mo glared at her. Watch your words. What do you mean by your Imperial City? It's our Imperial City. Since you were able to sign a demon god contract with me, you must be of the demon race. However, you can't turn into a fog. I reckon that you are a little bastard. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 6104. Recognize your own identity. Sha Mo saw that Yun Shujo didn't say anything and thought that she didn't dare to argue with him, so he continued, "Don't blame me for not reminding you. In our place, a hybrid demon born from the union of humans and demons like you has the lowest status. Even if one of your parents is a sky demon, a hybrid demon like you doesn't have much status. Therefore, from now on, you will listen to my arrangements. Otherwise, not to mention getting close to the Sky Demon clan, you might be sold as a slave. Although your appearance after the disguise is not good and your figure is shriveled, some poor demons are not picky." Sha Mo was spitting when he felt a sharp pain in his spiritual sense. He could not help but scream. Yun Shujo looked at him and said indifferently, "Recognize your own identity. I am the master and you are the servant. If you continue to talk nonsense, I will kill you. Aren't you afraid that I won't help you get close to the Heavenly Demon clan? Aren't you afraid that you won't be able to learn the Supreme Demon Scripture and turn into a demon?" Sha Mo said furiously. Yun Shujo curled her lips. "There's something I forgot to tell you. The corpse chi in my body has long been dissolved by other methods, so you are of no use to me. I can kill you at any time." "Impossible. Other than the Supreme Demonic Code, there's no way to dissolve the corpse chi. You must be lying to me." Sha Mo roared in disbelief. Yun Shujo shrugged her shoulders. "Think what you want. However, if you make me unhappy again, they'll let you know what it means to live a life worse than death." After saying this, Yun Shujo walked towards the Imperial City. Sha Mo was skeptical. He felt that Yun Shujo was most likely lying to him, but he still felt some fear in his heart. He took 2 steps forward and caught up to Yun Shujo. "Little girl, even if the corpse chi in your body has already dissipated, you are unfamiliar with the demon continent. You still have to rely on me. If you want to find Shui Wuji and your lover, you definitely can't do it without connections. How about this, you follow me back to the Sha family. I'm their ancestor. They will definitely treat me with respect. When the time comes, they'll arrange for someone to help you find them." Yun Shujo was not a fool. What was Sha Mo's plan? It was nothing more than to force her to break the contract with the demon god. However, what he said made sense. She was not familiar with the demon continent. Furthermore, the moment she came out of the teleportation channel, she realized that her cultivation base had decreased by quite a bit. It would not be bad if she could borrow the Sha family's power. Hence, she nodded. "That's fine. However, are you sure that they are all my descendants? If they don't acknowledge me, I will punish them," Sha Mo said confidently. Yun Shujo sized him up. "Don't blame me for pouring cold water on you. Your cultivation level is so low now, and you haven't come back for 10,000 years. Your descendants might not acknowledge you. Sha Mo snorted coldly. Although our demon race isn't as hypocritical as you humans, we still have some basic filial piety. Just follow me. Yun Shujiu saw that Sha Mo said so confidently, so she didn't say anything and followed him to the imperial city. Although there were guards in the imperial city, they did not check their identities. It was just that the way they looked at Yun Shujiu was a little strange. Yun Shujiu thought that they were acting this way because of her so-called identity as a mixed devil, but she did not take it to heart. After entering the imperial city, Sha Mo sighed with emotion. It was nothing more than the passing of time and the change of people. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know your report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 6104. Recognize your own identity. Sha Mo saw that Yun Shujiu didn't say anything and thought that she didn't dare to argue with him, so he continued, "Don't blame me for not reminding you. In our place, a hybrid demon born from the union of humans and demons like you has the lowest status. Even if one of your parents is a sky demon, a hybrid demon like you doesn't have much status. Therefore, from now on, you will listen to my arrangements. Otherwise, not to mention getting close to the Sky Demon clan, you might be sold as a slave. Although your appearance after the disguise is not good and your figure is shriveled, some poor demons are not picky." Sha Mo was spitting when he felt a sharp pain in his spiritual sense. He could not help but scream. Yun Shujiu looked at him and said indifferently, "Recognize your own identity. I am the master and you are the servant. If you continue to talk nonsense, I will kill you. Aren't you afraid that I won't help you get close to the heavenly demon clan? Aren't you afraid that you won't be able to learn the supreme demon scripture and turn into a demon?" Sha Mo said furiously. Yun Shujiu curled her lips. "There's something I forgot to tell you. The corpse chi in my body has long been dissolved by other methods, so you are of no use to me. I can kill you at any time." "Impossible. Other than the supreme demonic code, there's no way to dissolve the corpse chi. You must be lying to me." Sha Mo roared in disbelief. Yun Shujiu shrugged her shoulders. "Think what you want. However, if you make me unhappy again, they'll let you know what it means to live a life worse than death." After saying this, Yun Shujiu walked towards the imperial city. Sha Mo was skeptical. He felt that Yun Shujiu was most likely lying to him, but he still felt some fear in his heart. He took 2 steps forward and caught up to Yun Shujiu. "Little girl, even if the corpse chi in your body has already dissipated, you are unfamiliar with the demon continent. You still have to rely on me. If you want to find Shui Wuji in your lover, you definitely can't do it without connections. How about this, you follow me back to the Sha family. I'm their ancestor. They will definitely treat me with respect. When the time comes, I'll arrange for someone to help you find them." Yun Shujiu was not a fool. What was Sha Mo's plan? It was nothing more than to force her to break the contract with the demon god. However, what he said made sense. She was not familiar with the demon continent. Furthermore, the moment she came out of the teleportation channel, she realized that her cultivation base had decreased by quite a bit. It would not be bad if she could borrow the Sha family's power. Hence, she nodded. "That's fine. However, are you sure that the Sha family will know? They are all my descendants. If they don't acknowledge me, I will punish them." Sha Mo said confidently. Yun Shujiu sized him up. "Don't blame me for pouring cold water on you. Your cultivation level is so low now, and you haven't come back for 10,000 years. Your descendants might not acknowledge you." Sha Mo snorted coldly. "Although our demon race isn't as hypocritical as you humans, we still have some basic filial piety. Just follow me." Yun Shujiu saw that Sha Mo said so confidently, so she didn't say anything and followed him to the imperial city. Although there were guards in the imperial city, they did not check their identities. It was just that the way they looked at Yun Chujo was a little strange. Yun Chujo thought that they were acting this way because of her so-called identity as a mixed devil, but she did not take it to heart. After entering the imperial city, Sha Mo sighed with emotion. It was nothing more than the passing of time and the change of people. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 6106. Sha Mo had never thought that his family identification trip would end like this. Was he going to die like this? In a moment of panic, he remembered that he had a master. Immediately, he didn't care about his dignity anymore. He hurriedly used his spiritual sense to ask for help. Master, help. Quickly save me. Yun Chujo was so smart. She had already run far away when Sha Mo went to the Sha mansion to court death. It wasn't that she was suspicious, but it was better to be careful. It was her first time in the demon continent, so it was better to be careful. Although she was far away, she still saw Sha Mo being carried away by the guard like a little chick. She thought for a while and decided to save Sha Mo after all. She wasn't familiar with this place. Although Sha Mo was a little stupid, at least he knew more about the demon race. Therefore, she went through another alley. The guard had his back to Yun Chujo and was about to attack Sha Mo. Yun Chujo took out a rolling pin and hit the back of his head. The guard never expected that someone would sneak attack him. He was hit hard and fell to the ground. Sha Mo was about to speak when Yun Chujo put him into the spirit beast bag and ran out of the alley. Sha Mo was crying and cursing inside the spirit beast bag. These unfilial sons of mine don't recognize me. These dog servants who look down on others want to kill me. This is outrageous. Yun Chujo ran out of the alley for a few streets in one breath. When she saw that there was no movement behind her, she heaved a sigh of relief. Hearing Sha Mo's cursing, she said unhappily, "All right, don't you know what it means to have someone leave? Moreover, you are so weak now. Even if they know that you are the real Sha Mo Yi, they will not acknowledge you. Who would acknowledge a good-for-nothing ancestor and go back?" Sha Mo. Sha Mo gritted his teeth and said, "We will go to see the Demon Emperor. His Majesty will definitely make the decision for me. Even if I have to sacrifice my children and grandchildren, I will still take care of these ingrates." Yun Chujo did not say a word. She thought to herself, there was no devil emperor. She was the one who lied to him, all right? However, she should not provoke him now. It would be bad if he really went crazy from the stimulation. Just as Yun Chujo was thinking about it, a sharp and harsh voice came from behind her. "Miss Jo, can you think about us servants? If you have nothing to do, go out and run around. We have been looking for you for a few days, but we did not expect you to hide here in peace." Yun Chujo was shocked when she heard the name Miss Jo. It couldn't be, right? There was someone who knew her in the demon continent. Was she that famous? Although she had killed a few demons, she couldn't prove it. It didn't make sense for someone in the demon race to know her. Besides, she had already changed her appearance. How could she recognize her? However, she knew that she must have mistaken her for someone else. She turned around and saw a fierce-looking old woman walking toward her with an unfriendly expression. There were two maids following behind the old woman, and their expressions were not good. "Well, you must have mistaken me for someone else, right?" Yun Chujo said. The old woman immediately said angrily, "Miss Jo, do you think we are blind? Hurry and go back with us, or else the old madam will blame us, and we will be punished together with you." "I really don't, Chuyue, Dongshue, please return to the residence, Miss Jo." The old woman did not listen to Yun Chujo's explanation at all, and directly let the two maids carry Yun Chujo forward on her left and right. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 6106. Sha Mo had never thought that his family identification trip would end like this. Was he going to die like this? In a moment of panic, he remembered that he had a master. Immediately, he didn't care about his dignity anymore. He hurriedly used his spiritual sense to ask for help. Master, help. Quickly save me. Yun Shujo was so smart. She had already run far away when Sha Mo went to the Sha mansion to court death. It wasn't that she was suspicious, but it was better to be careful. It was her first time in the demon continent, so it was better to be careful. Although she was far away, she still saw Sha Mo being carried away by the guard like a little chick. She thought for a while and decided to save Sha Mo. After all, she wasn't familiar with this place. Although Sha Mo was a little stupid, at least he knew more about the demon race. Therefore, she went through another alley. The guard had his back to Yun Shujo and was about to attack Sha Mo. Yun Shujo took out a rolling pin and hit the back of his head. The guard never expected that someone would sneak attack him. He was hit hard and fell to the ground. Sha Mo was about to speak when Yun Shujo put him into the spirit beast bag and ran out of the alley. Sha Mo was crying and cursing inside the spirit beast bag. These unfilial sons of mine don't recognize me. These dog servants who look down on others want to kill me. This is outrageous. Yun Shujo ran out of the alley for a few streets in one breath. When she saw that there was no movement behind her, she heaved a sigh of relief. Hearing Sha Mo's cursing, she said unhappily, "All right, don't you know what it means to have someone leave? Moreover, you are so weak now. Even if they know that you are the real Sha Mo Yi, they will not acknowledge you. Who would acknowledge a good-for-nothing ancestor and go back?" Sha Mo. Sha Mo gritted his teeth and said, "We will go to see the demon emperor. His Majesty will definitely make the decision for me. Even if I have to sacrifice my children and grandchildren, I will still take care of these ingrates." Yun Shujo did not say a word. She thought to herself, there was no devil emperor. She was the one who lied to him, all right? However, she should not provoke him now. It would be bad if he really went crazy from the stimulation. Just as Yun Shujo was thinking about it, a sharp and harsh voice came from behind her. "Miss Jo, can you think about us servants? If you have nothing to do, go out and run around. We have been looking for you for a few days, but we did not expect you to hide here in peace." Yun Shujo was shocked when she heard the name Miss Jo. It couldn't be, right? There was someone who knew her in the demon continent. Was she that famous? Although she had killed a few demons, she couldn't prove it. It didn't make sense for someone in the demon race to know her. Besides, she had already changed her appearance. How could she recognize her? However, she knew that she must have mistaken her for someone else. She turned around and saw a fierce-looking old woman walking toward her with an unfriendly expression. There were two maids following behind the old woman, and their expressions were not good. "Well, you must have mistaken me for someone else, right?" Yun Shujo said. The old woman immediately said angrily, "Miss Jo, do you think we are blind? Hurry and go back with us, or else the old madam will blame us, and we will be punished together with you." "I really don't, Chuyue, Dongshue, please return to the residence, Miss Jo." The old woman did not listen to Yun Shuji's explanation at all, and directly let the two maids carry Yun Shujo forward on her left and right. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know your report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 6108, Luxury. Before Yun Shujo could brush Sha Mo off, she heard Qing Mama grumble, "Miss Jo, what are you waiting for? Go in and apologize to the old madam. We have been unlucky enough to follow a master like you for 8 lifetimes. There are no benefits for us. It's common for us to be punished." Qing Mama winked at the two handmaidens. Qiu Yu and Dong Shui immediately carried He Xinzhou to the side door. He Xinzhou felt a little complicated. She had not enjoyed the benefits of being an imposter, but she had to take the blame for someone else. After entering the Tian residence, Yun Shujio was blinded by the grandeur and luxury inside. Although she did not know what was good for her, she could not resist the Sha Mo inside the spirit beast bag. The gatehouse is actually built with gold and heavy wood. It's really a waste of money. It's already good enough for an ordinary demon to have a piece of furniture made of gold and heavy wood. Io, the rock of this rockery is actually Mirage Cloud Stone. What a waste. This Mirage Cloud Stone is a good thing to make an inkstone, but it's actually used to make a rockery. The flower bed over there is planted with golden peony. Such a good herb is actually used to decorate the courtyard. It's really too extravagant. Although Yun Shujio had never heard of these things mentioned by Sha Mo, one thing she could hear was that this Tian residence was not just an ordinary rich house. As expected of the leader of the 6 great demon clans, the Heavenly Demon Clan was not to be underestimated. Yun Shujio was carried by Qiu Yu and Dong Shui through 2 courtyards before she arrived at the rear residence. Qing Mama lowered her voice and said, "When you see the old madam later, you will obediently admit your mistake. After all, she is your biological grandmother. If the old madam is soft-hearted, she might be lenient and give you fewer lashes. If you are as stubborn as before, not only will you be whipped, but you will also be punished to kneel in the demonic hall for a few days." Yun Shujio immediately felt terrible. She thought that the so-called punishment was to lock her in the courtyard and not allow her to go out. Yet, she still had to be whipped. She still had to kneel for a few days. Well, I will seriously tell you again. I am really not the 9th miss. You have mistaken me for someone else. You'd better hurry up and find the real 9th miss. Otherwise, it won't be good if she's in danger, Yun Shujio said sincerely. Qing Mama sneered, 9th miss, don't play tricks. You'd better go and apologize to the old madam. Otherwise, it won't be a matter of a few lashes. You might be sent to the magic crystal mine directly. Yun Shujio wanted to cry, but no tears came out. If she had known it would be like this, she would have changed her appearance when she noticed the eyes of the city gate guards. She was really careless. Now that she had arrived at the Tian residence, it was impossible to escape. When she came in just now, she saw several groups of patrolling guards, so she could only force herself to continue acting. Thinking of this, Yun Shujio laughed dryly, "Qing Mama, I was just joking to ease my nervousness." The old woman and the 2 maids looked at her strangely. They were puzzled. This 9th young miss had always been a stubborn blockhead, but now she was actually joking? Could it be that she had become enlightened? Yun Shujio naturally noticed their eyes, but she didn't care. After all, they were sure that she was the so-called 9th young miss. Even if her personality was different, they wouldn't doubt her identity. Right now, the most important thing was how to avoid being punished. She didn't want to be whipped as soon as she arrived at the demon continent. Unfortunately, she had no idea about the situation of the old madam and the so-called 9th miss, so she could only respond to their moves. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know your report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 6109 In She'll Beat You to Death, You Vile Creature. Yun Shujio was escorted to an elegant courtyard by Qing Mama. The moment she entered the courtyard, Qing Mama changed her bossy attitude towards Yun Shujio and behaved like an old quail. Qiu Yu and Dong Shui kept quiet in fear and did not dare to say another word. Yun Shujio thought to herself, it seems that this so-called old madam has accumulated a lot of power. Otherwise, Qing Mama and the other 2 would not be so afraid. The 4 of them arrived at the door. Qing Mama's old face was smiling like a chrysanthemum as she said to the 2 maids at the door, "They'll have to trouble the 2 ladies to help pass the message. Tell them that this old servant has found the 9th miss." One of the maids looked at Yun Shujio with a slightly contemptuous gaze. Then, she opened the curtain and went in to pass the message. A moment later, the maid walked out and said indifferently, "The old madam asked you and the 9th miss to go in. The 2 of them don't have to follow." They just have to wait outside to be punished. Chuyue and Dong Shue's faces instantly turned pale, but they knew that they had no choice. Whenever Miss Jiu caused trouble, they had to be punished as well. Yun Shujo felt the two resentful gazes behind her and complained in her heart. She was the one who had bad luck, okay? Qing Mama thanked the maid and glanced at Yun Shujo. Yun Shujo knew that she was urging her to go in. She could only bite the bullet and walk in front while Qing Mama followed behind her. Yun Shujo glanced around and saw an old lady sitting on the seat with a gloomy face. The way she looked at her was almost like she was looking at something dirty. Clang! A teacup smashed towards Yun Shujo's face. Yun Shujo had a thought. If she dodged, this old lady would be even angrier, but if she didn't dodge, it would hurt her face. Hence, this fellow took the opportunity to kneel down. The teacup flew over her and landed right on Qing Mama's face behind her. Qing Mama, who was dizzy from the impact, old lady Tian was also stunned, but she could not find any fault with it. She could only say angrily, "You still have the face to come back? How could our Tian family produce such a useless thing like you? It's fine if you can't cultivate demonic qi, but you actually shamelessly seduced the second prince. That's your cousin Ru Lu's fiancé. Why don't you look in the mirror and see your ugly appearance? Is the second prince something that a good-for-nothing like you can dream of? What a toad wants to eat swan meat. After being exposed by Ru Lu, you actually dared to run away from home. What a disgrace. I'll beat you to death today, you vile spawn, to avoid bringing shame to our Tian family. Do Mama, please punish this vile spawn, beat her to death for me." Hei Shinjo was dumbfounded. How was this a matter of a few lashes? She was going to beat her to death. If she said that she was an imposter now, would this vicious old lady believe it? She definitely wouldn't believe it. Hearing this old lady call him trash and ugliness, she was afraid that her previous flattery would be useless. What should she do? Seeing that Du Mama had returned with a tray with a long red whip on it, it was unknown what material the whip was made of. It looked very frightening. If this whip was to be lashed on her body, just thinking about it would be very satisfying. However, this vicious old lady might not really want her life. If she wanted to kill her, she did not need to specifically capture her. Wouldn't it be more convenient to just kill her quietly outside? Even so, she did not want to be lashed. Her lowered eyes flashed. She had it. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 61:10 The Miserable Sha Mo. Yun Shujo suddenly raised her head with a face full of regret and determination. "Grandmother, I have committed a grave sin. I don't need you to do anything. I will kill myself now so that I don't embarrass the Tian family again." As Yun Shujo spoke, she took out a dagger and aimed it at her abdomen. Her clothes were immediately dyed red with blood, which gave old lady Tian a fright. Yun Shujo raised the dagger again and made a gesture to stab down. Old lady Tian slammed the table. "Enough. You're really trying to anger me to death. You're a jinx. Why didn't you die back then? Why did my poor Honger die? Get lost. Get lost. Stay in the courtyard and never come out again." Yun Shujo did not have the time to think about the huge amount of information in old lady Tian's words. She said weakly, "Yes, granddaughter, as you command." After saying that, Yun Shujo staggered to her feet and fainted in Qing Mama. Confused, Qing Mama had no choice but to carry her out of the house. Hei Shinjo cursed in her heart. If it were not for the fact that she cleverly used the trick of suffering, this vicious old lady would definitely have suffered a lot. Sha Mo, who was in the spiritual beast bag, was holding the wound on his arm and pulling on it. The trick of suffering? It was clearly his blood, all right. What kind of sin had he committed to meet such a black-hearted little pervert? Yun Shujo was supported to a small courtyard. Although the area was not big and the decorations were a little shabby, the place was very clean. It seemed that although the three of them were not very respectful to her, and there was some resentment and disdain, they were at least diligent. Yun Shujo was placed on the bed. Just when Qing Mama was about to open Yun Shujia's clothes to check her wound, Yun Shujo woke up. "Don't worry about me. Go out." Qing Mama left without any hesitation. Yun Shujo could not help but sigh. It seemed that the original ninth miss was not very popular. However, it was better this way so that she would not be exposed. Although she had only entered the residence for a short while, she could imagine why the ninth young miss had run away from home. She could not cultivate demonic chi, the servants were disloyal, the elders did not like her, and she was accused of seducing her cousin's fiancé. If she did not leave, would she still stay for the new year? However, according to Qing Mama, the original owner was introverted and stubborn. How could she do something like seducing her cousin's fiancé? There might be something else going on here. Just as she was thinking, Qing Mama's fawning voice sounded from outside, "Miss Ru Lu, please come in." Yun Shujo frowned and closed her eyes to pretend to be asleep. "Miss Jo, Ms." Qing Mama shouted loudly, deliberately trying to wake Yun Shujo up. Yun Shujo opened her eyes and saw a girl in white standing in front of the bed with a concerned look. Qing Mama moved a chair over and said, "Miss Ru Lu, please have a seat." After Tian Rulu sat down, Chun Shao, the maid standing behind her, smiled and said, "Qing Mama, let's go out and let the two masters talk properly." Qing Mama did not even look at Yun Shujo and followed Chun Shao out. Yun Shujo could not help but feel speechless. This Qing Mama really did not put the original owner in her eyes at all. After Chun Shao and Qing Mama left, Tian Rulu stared at Yun Shujo for a long time and then said with a smile, "Sister Jo, do you still remember when we fell into the lotus pond when we were young?" Yun Shujo was shocked. Did Tian Rulu suspect that she was a fake? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know your report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 6111 was a complete blackout. Yun Shujo quickly calculated all the possibilities in her mind. Was she faking it? Treating the symptoms but not the root of the problem could not dispel Tian Rula's suspicion. Then, she had to give a correct answer. According to the difference in their statuses in the mansion, it was not strange for her to fall into the lotus pond, but how could Tian Rulu fall into it as well? It was either to frame her, or to show her good reputation of sacrificing herself to save others. In any case, there must be a conspiracy behind this. Therefore, Yun Shujo revealed a mocking expression. "Don't you know clearly what happened back then? I am not as smart as you, but I will not be stupid forever." Tian Rulu was not angry after hearing Yun Shuji's words. She said lightly, "It doesn't matter if you are stupid or smart. If you want to live well, you should know what to say and what not to say. If not, you might not be so lucky to save your life next time." Yun Shujo was shocked. Why did she listen to Tian Rulu's words? Did she send someone to kill the original ninth miss? And it seemed that she succeeded. Otherwise, she would not have come to probe. However, she did not know if the original ninth miss was dead or escaped. She also did not know what the original owner knew, that Tian Rulu would actually send people to kill her. Could it be that the so-called seducing of the second prince was just to find an excuse to kill her? Yun Shijia's heart was in turmoil, but she said coldly on the surface, "Don't worry. After this experience, I feel that nothing is more important than being alive. I won't say anything." Tian Rulu nodded. "It's good that you know. We are cousins after all. I don't want you to reunite with your parents at such a young age." After saying that, Tian Rulu stood up and walked away. When she reached the door, she raised her voice. "Sister Jo, you should recuperate well. I'll come and see you in a few days." Yun Shujo snorted coldly and didn't say anything. Thank you, Sister Joe. Ching Mama's attentive voice came from outside the house. It seemed that she had received some rewards and kept thanking her. After a while, Ching Mama pushed the door open and came in. Her old face was smiling like a chrysanthemum. Miss Joe, it's not that I want to say too much, but Miss Rulu really has nothing to say to your cousin. Not only did she not hate you, but she even forgot about the past and came to visit you. You can't do anything to let Miss Rulu down in the future. Yun Shujo rolled her eyes in her heart, but on the surface, she agreed. You're right. I'll thank her properly in the future. I'm sleepy. You can leave now. Ching Mama pouted and twisted her old waist as she left. Yun Shujo could not help but have a headache. Should she think of a way to escape? At this moment, Sha Mo, who was in the spirit beast pouch, said, "Little girl, it seems that you really did not lie to me. Since there is a second prince, then there must be a devil emperor. I just don't know if he is the real devil emperor. You can stay in the Tian family. Although you are not favored, you might have the chance to meet the devil emperor. What you said is easy. You heard it too. This so-called ninth young lattice parents are all choked up. That old lady Tian hates her to the extreme. Also, that Tian Rulu just now also wants to kill her. Should I stay and wait for death?" She did not think that Tian Rulu would really let her off like she said. She would definitely find an opportunity to silence her, because only a dead person could keep a secret. Most importantly, she knew nothing about the original owner and the Tian family's situation. She was completely blind. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 61:12. You can stay or not, but if you want to find that Shua Wuji in your lover, staying in the Tian residence is the best choice. After all, the identity of the heavenly demon race is more useful than anything else. Sha Mo snorted coldly. He had also learned to be smart and knew to start from the things that Yun Shujo cared about. Yun Shujo thought about it and it made sense. If she wanted to find information about Shua Wuji and Di Biming, she had to first establish a foothold in the demon race continent. The Tian family was a good stepping stone. However, the information she knew was too limited. She had to find a way to get some information out of them. Meng Yanshou had spent a lot of energy to fabricate the dream realm for her. Although she still had some energy left, she didn't want to use it unless it was absolutely necessary. It seemed that Ching Mama was greedy. As long as she gave her some benefits, she should be able to get the information out easily. Unfortunately, she did not have any demon crystals with her. Sha Mo, that poor devil, did not have anything at all. What should she do? Forget it. No matter what, she should use words to coax her first. Perhaps she could get some information out of her. Yun Shujo was about to call Ching Mama in to get the information, but when she found out that Ching Mama had gone out for a stroll, she was completely speechless. It was not until evening that Ching Mama returned. Yun Shujo was about to call her in to ask for more information, but she heard a commotion outside, as if something big had happened. Logically speaking, a big family like the Tian residence, which had strict rules, would definitely not be so noisy if something big had not happened. What exactly had happened? Yun Shujo was now seriously injured. Although she was very curious, it was not good for her to go out and watch the show. Fortunately, she soon heard the shouts of Ching Mama and the others. "Look, it's Kyle Wan. Miss Ru Lu is indeed a proud daughter of heaven." When she broke through, she could actually attract Kyle Wan's abnormal phenomenon. Although it's not the real Kyle Wan, it's still rare in this world. Miss Ru Lu is the pride of our Tian family. She's much stronger than the one in the room. TCH, not only is she much stronger, she's thousands of times stronger. She can't even cultivate devil chi. She can only rely on the spirit stones left by her mother to cultivate. She's so stingy. If she had given up some of them to exchange for devil crystals, she wouldn't have been in such a dire situation. Even we would have suffered along with her. Sigh, let's not talk about it anymore. It's our bad luck to have such a master. We didn't get any benefits, but we still have to suffer. We're really unlucky. Yun Chujia's heart skipped a beat. It seemed like the original owner's mother was most likely a human. Otherwise, she wouldn't have left behind spirit stones, and the original owner wouldn't have been unable to cultivate devil chi. The original owner's identity was practically tailor-made for her. After disguising herself, she was actually cheated. She didn't know if her luck was good or bad. She just didn't know if the original owner was dead or alive. After all, she had borrowed her identity, so she still owed her a favor. If she died, she would help her take revenge. If she was still alive, she would have to repay her in the future when she found her. However, since the original owner had the spirit stones left by her mother, she could solve her current predicament. She could ask Qing Mama to exchange her spirit stones for magic crystals. Firstly, she would have more money, and secondly, she could use them to bribe Qing Mama. As for Tian Rulu and what secret the original owner had discovered, she would have to figure it out slowly. No matter how weak she was still the young miss of the Tian residence. Even if Tian Rulu wanted to attack, she had to have some scruples. Otherwise, she wouldn't have plotted such a scheme and forced the original owner out of the Tian family before making a move. Just as Yun Chujio was thinking about it, she heard a commotion outside, and it seemed to be even more chaotic than before. Then, she heard the ear-piercing shriek of Qing Mama, "Mother, why is Kyle Wan flying towards us?" If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 61:14. Tian Rulu gritted her teeth and gathered the demonic chi in her right hand before extending it towards Kailwan. The Kailwan hesitated for a moment before flapping its wings and flying towards Tian Rulu's hand. It seemed like it wanted to land in her hand. Tian Rulu was so excited that her hand was trembling. If Kailwan really landed in her hand, it would be much stronger than just summoning Kailwan. When she thought of everyone's envious eyes and admiring words, Tian Rulu looked at Kailwan even more fervently. At this moment, with a creak, the door was opened from the inside. A pale-faced little girl walked out with a wooden stick. "Io, where did this big pheasant come from? Everyone, are you blind? This is a wild chicken. This is Kailwan, okay?" Tian Rulu was naturally very angry, but her eyes were all on that Kailwan, so she naturally didn't want to cause any trouble. Thus, she still looked at that Kailwan expectantly. Who would have thought that Kailwan would actually turn around and fly towards the direction of the house door without any hesitation? Tian Rulu simply couldn't believe her eyes. In a panic, she once again condensed devil chi on her right hand. However, Kailwan did not even turn her head and flew towards Yunchujo. Everyone was shocked. Everyone in the imperial city knew that the ninth miss of the Tian family was born unable to cultivate devil chi and was ignorant. Otherwise, she would not have treated Kailwan as a pheasant. Then the question was, why did Kailwan fly towards her? Could it be that the pearl was covered in dust? In reality, the ninth miss of the Tian family was a genius. The first prince and the third prince immediately felt at ease. They looked at Yun Chujo with a hint of evaluation in their eyes. If Kailwan really chose her, then perhaps marrying her would be a good choice. Yun Chujo was somewhat dumbfounded. The reason why she came out was firstly to disrupt Tian Rulu's good deed, and secondly, to obtain more information. Moreover, she had to come out to brush her face and let everyone remember that the Tian family still had a ninth miss, so that she could act in the future. But why was this wild chicken flying towards her? It was not that Hei Shinjo did not know the goods, it was mainly because this fellow had seen the five-colored phoenix, and had also seen the black phoenix, Xiao Hanio. In her eyes, this Kyle Wan was really no different from a wild chicken. Moreover, Kyle Wan was just an illusion. She could not see anything strange about it. However, if Kyle Wan chose her, it would be a good thing. At least, it could improve her treatment in the Tian family. Thinking of this, He Xinjiu found Kyle Wan much more pleasing to the eye. She said with a smile, "Big pheasant, come to sister." This fellow couldn't help but sigh in his heart. It seemed that this devil race continent was indeed her blessed land. Not only did she pick up the identity of ninth miss, but this big pheasant even took the initiative to come to her side. Finally, her luck had turned. Just when this fellow was feeling happy, a trace of resentment flashed in the eyes of the Kyle Wan. Its entire body turned into a cluster of black flames and rushed towards Yunchujiu. Even in her dreams, He Xinjiu did not expect Kyle Wan to do such a thing. In addition, her cultivation had been suppressed quite a bit. It was definitely too late for her to completely avoid it. Although she could activate the spirit weapon's protection, she was afraid of giving herself away, so she could only activate the spirit energy barrier and throw the wooden stick to the ground. Even so, her hair was still burned. He Xinjiu had no choice but to roll on the ground. As she rolled on the ground, she rejoiced in her heart. Fortunately, she was now a shriveled bean sprout. If she had a front, a bulge, a back, and a curvy body, her butt might have been burned. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know your report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 61:16 Who exactly are you? Tian Shifeng's old eyes flashed with a bright light as he laughed loudly. What little girl Ruhua said makes sense. Kyle Wan must have liked her too much and was unable to express herself for a moment. That's why she ended up like this. If she was really angry, it wouldn't be as simple as burning Ruhua's hair. Moreover, Kyle Wan specially flew to this courtyard, which shows that it really likes Ruhua. Yunchujiu, who is Ruhua? Who is she? Who is she? Her heart was like 10,000 divine beasts whizzing past. Don't tell her that her current identity was called Tian Ruhua. Tian Rulu didn't expect Tian Shefeng to actually speak up for Yunchujiu. She immediately said with a disapproving expression, "Grandfather, that Kyle Wan clearly, Rulu, you've just broken through. Quickly go back and stabilize your realm. Your Highness, everyone, we haven't had enough fun just now. Let's go back to the front yard and continue drinking. Kyle Wan's appearance is His Majesty's blessing and the blessings of all living beings. We must get drunk today." When Tian Shefeng said these words, he gave Tian Rulu a warning glance. Tian Rulu did not dare to speak anymore, even though she was extremely unwilling in her heart. The three princes and the other family heads chatted for a while before leaving with Tian Shefeng. When Tian Rulu saw them leave, she immediately said to old Madame Tian with tears in her eyes, "Grandmother, I originally wanted to invite Kyle Wan to bring glory to our Tian family." Who would have thought that? Old Madame Tian immediately glared at He Xinjiu. "You vile spawn. I don't believe what you said just now. You're a jinx. If you hadn't called Kyle Wan a wild chicken, Kyle Wan would have flown into the hands of Kyle Wan. You really can't bear to see Kyle Wan. You were coveting her fiancé before, and now you're meddling in her good deeds. I must teach you a lesson today. Do mama, get me the family law. I must beat this vile spawn to death today." Yunchujiu was still immersed in the nightmare of Tian Ruhua's name. When she heard old lady Tian's words, she sighed, "Grandmother, what I said is true. If I lie, why would grandfather agree with me? You are an elder, do as you say. However, if you beat me to death and cripple me, His Majesty will summon me, the fated person of Kyle Wan, on a whim. Then, it will not be easy for you to end things." Old lady Tian's face was livid. "Are you threatening me? I wouldn't dare. I'm just telling the truth. Anyway, I only have this wretched life. If you want it, then take it. I've lived enough anyway. Why don't I stab myself again? So as not to dirty your whip? Yun Shujo took out a dagger as she spoke and made a gesture to stab her own abdomen. Old Lady Tian was so angry that she was twitching. Good, good. You're AJ. You're really pissing me off. Just you wait. If the Emperor summons you, it's fine. Otherwise, HMPH. After saying that, Old Lady Tian left in a huff. She did not even have the mood to comfort Tian Rulu, who was still drenched in tears. Sha Mo, who was in the spirit beast pouch, let out a long breath. He was on the verge of bleeding again. Tian Rulu did not expect Yun Shujo to dismiss Old Lady Tian with just a few words. She said to Yun Shujo with a gloomy face, Sister Jo, let's talk inside the house. Yun Shujo did not object. She picked up the wooden stick on the ground and staggered back into the house. Ching Mama and the others tactfully did not enter the house. Tian Rulu naturally did not have any scruples. She stared at Yun Shujo. If you are not Tian Ruhua, then who are you? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know your report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 61:17 Originally, Tian Rulu had already dispelled some of her suspicions, but the incident that had just happened made her suspicious again. Tian Ruhua's character, which had originally been completely useless, had suddenly become so sharp-tongued. Moreover, the person who had been sent to assassinate Tian Ruhua had reported that after confirming that Tian Ruhua had breathed her last, she had been thrown into the magical beast forest. How could she have come back all of a sudden? This Tian Ruhua must be a fake. Yun Shujo bared her little white teeth and said in a somewhat sinister manner, "You are right. I am not Tian Ruhua. The previous Tian Ruhua is already dead. From now on, the one who is still alive is Wu Chang, who wants to take your life. Tian Rulu, Tian Dao is good at reincarnation. I will return everything you did to me to you one by one." Tian Rulu was frightened by her cold tone and took 2 steps back. She immediately reacted and said with a cold smile, "Tian Ruhua, I didn't expect you to be a dog that doesn't bark. You want to fight with me? Good, very good, just you wait." She was just a good-for-nothing who didn't have anything to rely on, yet she still wanted to seek revenge on her? What wishful thinking. However, she also dispelled her suspicions towards Yun Shujo. She thought that she had hidden her true nature in the past, but now, she had finally exposed herself. This was exactly what Yun Shujo wanted. As for the revenge of Tian Rulu and the second prince, she would just have to deal with it as it came. Seeing that Tian Rulu had left in a huff, Ching Mama sighed and entered the house. "Miss Jo, it's not that I want to say too much. You shouldn't have left the house today, and you shouldn't have gone against Miss Rulu. You've even offended the old lady. How are we going to live in the future?" Yun Shujo narrowed her eyes. She had plenty of ways to deal with this kind of unruly slave. However, her footing was not stable now, so it was better to temporarily win her over. Hence, Yun Shujo sighed. "Ching Mama, I also regret it. If I had known that this would happen, I wouldn't have left the house no matter what. However, who would have known that Kyle Wan had landed in our courtyard?" Ching Mama also felt very strange in her heart. Why did Kyle Wan fly into their courtyard all of a sudden? Could it really be because she liked this good-for-nothing Miss Jo? "Ching Mama, after this matter, I finally understand something. In this family, only you are the most reliable. Although we are called master and servant, in the bottom of my heart, I treat you as an elder. It's just that I was blinded by my heart and couldn't express it. I've disappointed you," Yun Shujo said while wiping away her tears. Looking at Yun Shujia's dirty little face filled with tears, Ching Mama felt a rare sense of compassion. "Miss Jo, you're still injured. Don't cry. There's always a way out. You'll get through it eventually." Yun Shujo grabbed Ching Mama's hand. Mama, you're the best to me. You've seen my situation in this manner. From now on, I don't ask for anything else. I just want to live. Mama, you're well informed. I'll be relying on you in the future. Hearing Yun Chujia's words, Ching Mama suddenly felt that her body had grown taller. She immediately said, Miss Jiu, don't worry. I'll do my best to serve you in the future. Yun Chujiu knew that this old woman was just being soft-hearted for a moment. In the future, she would do what she always did. She had to give her something in return. Granny, think of a way to exchange these spiritual stones for magic crystals. Just give me half of them. You can keep the rest for me. You can just pay for your daily expenses from the inside. Tell me if you don't need them anymore. I've thought it through now. It's useless to keep those spiritual stones. It's better to let us relax. Chapter 61:18 The mask was gone. Ching Mama's old face immediately smiled like a chrysanthemum. Ninth Miss, you're right. It's not that my words are unpleasant, but the spiritual energy in our demon continent is scarce. No matter how hard you try to cultivate your spiritual energy, you won't make much progress. Yun Chujiu handed the spiritual stone to Ching Mama while sighing. Mama, you're right. I've been too muddle-headed in the past. I hope you can teach me more in the future. Ching Mama saw that Yun Chujiu kept calling her Mama, and her face was full of trust. Most importantly, the spirit stone in her hand was genuine. The smile on her face immediately became more genuine. Yun Chujiu held Ching Mama's hand again. Ching Mama was shocked. She thought that Yun Chujiu wanted the spirit stone back, so she quickly put the spirit stone into her storage ring. Yun Chujiu couldn't help but laugh. This Ching Mama was even more greedy than her. Mama, I'm scared today. Can you talk to me after dinner? Yun Chujiu asked sincerely. Ching Mama immediately agreed. After dinner, she took a chair and sat by the bed to talk to Yun Chujiu. Yun Chujiu started to talk to Yun Chujiu silently. Finally, she learned something about Tian Ruhua. Tian Ruhua's mother, Ji Xiaoyun, was a human being and had a very low status in the demon continent. However, Tian Ruhua's father, Tian Hanhong, fell in love with Ji Xiaoyun at first sight. He would marry her no matter what. The old lady tried her best to stop them but failed. In the end, she let them get married. They thought that the bitter would come to an end. However, when the three of them went out to play, they were attacked by demon beasts. Tian Hanhong lost his life to protect Tian Ruhua and her daughter. Although Ji Xiaoyun saved her life, she was unable to recover from the pain of losing her husband. After spending a year in bed, she also passed away. Old Lady Tian thought that Tian Ruhua was the nemesis of her parents, so she naturally did not treat her well. In addition, she could not cultivate the demonic qi, so her situation became worse. As for why the Tian family called Tian Rulu and the others Miss Rulu and Miss Rushuang, but called Tian Ruhua Jiu Miss, the reason was very simple. They felt that Tian Ruhua's appearance did not match the word Ruhua. Yun Chujiu, I thank you. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Yun Chujiu was afraid of arousing the suspicion of Ching Mama, so she did not dare to ask too much for a moment. She simply found an excuse to dismiss Ching Mama. After Ching Mama left, Yun Chujiu looked at the bronze mirror and scolded in a low voice, "Damn it, that damn pheasant actually dared to burn my hair. If I see its real body, I will definitely turn it into a bald chicken." Shamo said with some schadenfreude, "Little girl, it's not that I want to criticize you, but you also deserve it. Who told you to call Kyle one a big pheasant?" Yun Chujiu snorted coldly, "If it's not like this, do you think that a poor little girl like me has the chance to make a name for herself? Do you have the chance to enter the palace to meet the emperor? Don't you want to see the demon emperor?" Shamo immediately changed his words, "I was just casually saying. You are right, that is not Kyle Wan but a big pheasant. The others are all blind." Yun Shujio curled her lips. Just as she was about to ridicule him, she heard Sha Mo's heart-wrenching roar. Where's the mask? Where's the Devil Emperor's mask? Who stole the mask? Yun Shujio was startled and quickly used her spiritual sense to probe into the spirit beast pouch. She saw Sha Mo's eyes were red as he was rummaging around. Smelly girl, did you hide His Majesty's mask? You're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.